Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Dimension. Sign into Leilu core at the beginning. Chapter 41. Kiana actually sent me her measurements. Ling Zan poked Kiana's head. The picture that Kiana uses as her social avatar is her own, and it is still a photo. Looking at the grinning Kiana on the picture, Ling Zan couldn't help but see Kiana's shy expression just now, and his pupils couldn't help trembling. According to memory, the power of structure emerges. A photo of Kiana's blurred eyes appeared in his hand. Okay, so cute. Looking at the photo, Ling Zan subconsciously said. This moment, he had to admit, he was moved. It's over, why did I fall first? Ling Zan covered his mouth. But, the more you look the better. Kiana is already pretty, not to mention she still has a single ponytail today. This completely hit Ling Zan's fetish, plus the bonus of shyness. Brother, what are you doing standing at the door? At this time, a voice suddenly sounded from behind. Ling Zan was startled, turned around quickly, and put the photo behind him. It's Xiaochong, I'm here to watch the scenery, ha ha ha. Xiaochong showed a suspicious expression. Brother, you are sweating. It should be because the weather is too hot, okay, let's go in. Ling Zan panicked. Oh, Ling Zan, you're going to take the college entrance examination tomorrow, aren't you going to review now? In the laboratory, Branya looked at Ling Zan who was sitting on the chair, and said. It's okay, those knowledge points have long been memorized. Don't talk about that, let's take a look at this. This is. Branya leaned over and looked at the model on the computer and asked curiously. Ling Zan pointed to the design drawing on the computer, folded his arms. This is my newly designed weapon. I named it Blue Flame Silver Falcon 0019. This weapon is designed by me according to the latest spiritual weapon. It adopts the latest energy guiding mode, which can freeze the surrounding void in time and space while absorbing gem energy. And according to the extension of the template, it is matched with the corresponding double gun weapon. I named her Silver Wing Guangxiao. Ling Zan switched to the next design drawing. It was a pair of silver guns, which were obviously the weapons of the big duck. This is for Kiana, Branya said. Is it so obvious? Among the three of us, only Kiana knows how to fight with guns. Branya joked. Hey, not only Kiana, I also prepared one for Mei. Ling Zan coughed lightly, and quickly switched to the next one. He still understands the principle of equal exposure to rain and dew. Why is the color of this knife different from ours? Branya looked at the design drawing with a puzzled expression. Because Mei successfully emerged once, she designed a weapon that works with radon. This Dawnbreaker Tavar can convert electrical energy into high heat, and cutting metal is as easy as cutting tofu. Ling Zan explained. Quote. Branya looked at the eloquent Ling Zan and fell silent. Then, as if he had made up his mind to wake up, he pressed Ling Zan's shoulder and said seriously, Ling Zan, I will help you. Help me for what? Ling Zan was confused. Branya chuckled. Secret. Ling Zan. Could it be helping him chase Kiana? After discussing the design with Branya, Ling Zan went home. After all, it's a girl's home, so it's not good for him to keep visiting. I'll see if I can move in directly in the future. Afternoon. Ding dong. The doorbell of Ling Xuan's house rang, and Aisha got up to open the door. Crack. The door opened, and a familiar figure came into view. Aisha. Mr. Han Cheng. Looking at Aisha dressed as a married woman, Han Cheng showed a bitter smile. Is Ling Zan there? Yes, please come in. Elsa moves out of the way. As soon as Han Cheng came in, he saw Ling Zan sitting on the sofa watching TV with Xiaochong in his arms. Why are you here? Ling Zan looked at Han Cheng and asked curiously. I'm bored at home, come here to play. With that said, Han Cheng sat down directly as if he had returned to his own home, without any restraint. Mr. Han Cheng, your tea. Aisha came with a cup of tea. Thanks, your life is quite nourishing now, boy. Han Cheng, who was holding a water glass, spoke sourly. It's okay, why don't you prepare for the exam at home? Guarded, Han Cheng leaned on the sofa, crossed his legs, and looked at the Versailles track. Oh, congratulations then. Come on, if you show your true strength, you will definitely be among the recommended personnel. Ling Zan chuckled lightly. Learning, I've already gone to school enough, and I may not be able to benefit from the knowledge in school. Han Cheng was silent for a while, and asked, "What is your strength now?" "Strength," Ling Zan murmured and turned to look at Han Cheng. Next second, the pupils opened sharply. The blue eyes are breathtaking. Dang! The space shook, and in an instant, the surroundings turned gray and white. This is... Han Cheng stood up abruptly, looking at the void around him in astonishment. Everything is banned. Ling Zan closed his eyes. Time that was stagnated begins to flow again. Phew, Ling Zan, you guy can actually seal time and space. Han Cheng took a deep breath and looked at Ling Zan as if he were looking at a monster. Ling Zan shrugged, noncommittal, so it's better to keep a low profile. You know, although I like to make trouble, I don't like to be troubled. You're cheap, Han Cheng complained. You can say whatever you want. Ling Zan put it down straight away. By the way, your ability is fire attribute. To be precise, it's sacred plus fire. Han Cheng said to himself. This is the confidence given by the S-level ability. It's all the same. Ling Zan waved his hand and continued to ask, what weapon do you like? Weapons. Why do you ask this suddenly? Don't worry about it, just tell me. Well, in terms of weapons, I prefer swords. It's best to hold a big sword with both hands. It's so handsome, Han Cheng said after thinking for a while. Is it a big sword? I know. Know what? It's nothing. I praise you for being handsome. Han Cheng, stop messing with you, get up, and fight me. Sick. You, I'm telling you, don't use that ability to stop time and space. I haven't agreed yet. 3 days meal. Han Cheng raised 3 fingers. A week. Deal, Han Cheng said decisively. Ling Zan, I always feel like I'm at a loss. Don't talk nonsense, get up quickly, Han Cheng urged. It's coming, it's urgent. Ling Zan sighed, hugged Xiaochong from his arms to the side, and stood up. Mr. Ling Zan, Mr. Han Cheng, you. Aisha looked at the two worriedly. It's okay, just go to discuss it, and it will be fine. Ling Zan touched Aisha's head. Xiaochong, please. Aisha, who was touched on the head, nodded heavily. Ling Zan chuckled, ignored Han Cheng, who was about to kill, and withdrew his hand. Ruishui, call softly. In an instant, Ruishui sat in front of Ling Zan with the Ruishui sword. I'm going. What is this? A doll like Ellie the fairy? Han Cheng was startled the moment he saw Ruishui. Ignoring the other party, Ling Zan made a move towards the void. Ruishui hidden into Ruishui's sword, and Ruishui's sword flew into Ling Zan's hands. Holding Ruishui's sword in his hand, Ling Zan bowed to Han Cheng. Thank you for the kindness of the sandbag today. Han Cheng. Ling Zan smiled slightly. Coincidentally, he just needed someone to let him try his Taishu sword shape. It can be said that the goods are delivered to the door, not to mention the free shipping, but also a week's worth of meals. What a kind person. Han Cheng, who received Ling Zan's bow, felt a chill down his back for some reason. Shaking his head, he shook off his redundant thoughts, looked at Ling Zan and said, let's go, come with me to the arena. The public battle place can be used only by paying some money. Don't bother. Ling Zan stretched out his hand. Snapped. Snap your fingers crisply. In an instant, the surrounding space rippled like water waves. When Han Cheng came back to his senses, he had already come to an open space. The warm wind blew the ends of his hair, and he looked at everything in front of him in a daze. Am I dreaming? This is a vast grassland, the wind is mixed with the fragrance of green grass. Is this place satisfactory? A familiar voice came from the opposite side, and Han Cheng, who was in a daze, came back to his senses. Looking at Ling Zan for a long time, Han Cheng let out a foul breath. Pervert. These are the 3 abilities that Ling Zan has shown in front of him so far. I don't even know what words to use to express my shock. Perhaps it's because God pities me as an orphan. Ling Zan looked up at the sky and said with emotion. The sacrifice of parents has boundless mana. What you said makes me want to be an orphan. Han Cheng scratched his cheek. Ling Zan raised his hand and shouted, sacrifice, my family. Han Cheng. Just kidding. Ling Zan chuckled and raised Ruo Shui's sword. Accompanied by the delivery of spiritual energy, the blade glowed with ice blue light. The gemstone in the sword was activated, and the sword spirit Ruishui opened his crystal-like ice blue pupils. Be gentle, I'm going to cry. Holding up the Ruishui sword, Ling Zan smiled lightly. Quote. After a moment of silence, Han Chang grasped the void with both hands, and the flames condensed and turned into an elemental sword. The karmic fire was lingering, and the moment it touched the ground, the vibrant grass was burned into bare scorched earth. Then you, just cry and show me. Holding the hilt with both hands, the big sword is raised above the head. With a light drink, the flaming sword slammed down. Boom! The flames burst out, and the green grass on the ground was completely burned. A wave of flames swept across. I told you I would cry. Sighed. Raising Ruoshui with one hand, the Taishutu on the hilt of the sword shook towards the void. Yin and Yang are transformed, clear and turbid are separated, broken. Following Ling Zan's soft drink, he swung his sword. The sword energy of the water wave offset the rushing fire wave. Laugh. Water vapor erupted, covering Ling Zan's sight. Boom. The next moment, an explosion sounded. Ling Zan narrowed his eyes. In the white mist, a red figure broke through the mist and slashed at him with his sword raised. Go to hell, charge now. He raised his head, looked at the falling flame, and raised Ruo Shui's sword unhurriedly. The index finger and middle finger were close together, and the two fingers were pressed against the blade, gradually coating the Ruo Shui sword with a layer of ice blue light. Shape. The upper part is called Dao, and the lower one is called Device. Taishu's sword shape, transforming into a sword, swift. Stepping on the ground, Ling Zan rushed straight into the sky. If you are shocked, you will not retreat but advance. Waving the sword with one hand, the void is like a pool of water, and the divine sword is like water across the void. Quote. Under Han Chang's shocked eyes, Ruoshujian's blade touched the blade of his great sword, and the blade staggered. In the next second, he was thrown flying. Boom! This is me. Han Chang, who landed, was stunned. He was thrown away. Ling Zan, what did you just do? Han Chang asked curiously. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, using your strength to fight, 4 or 2 to pull 1,000 caddies. Ling Zan, who fell to the ground, smiled lightly. Standing with a sword behind his back, his temperament is aloof, and the misty mist floats around, like a banished fairy. Quote. Han Chang was full of question marks. Are you lying to ghosts? I don't know about you. If you're too lazy, why don't you just learn martial arts? Han Chang didn't believe it at all, he only thought that Ling Zan was lying and pretending. Quote. The corner of his mouth twitched, and Ling Zan forced a smile. It's fake or not, just try it and you'll know. But Han Chang, don't even think about walking back today. Ling Zan showed a kind smile. Arcs flickered all over his body. Next second, boom, ground crack, the red thunder burst out like a laser cannon, drawing a red straight line on the blue lawn. Vori. Han Chang's pupils shrank, and when he lowered his head, Ling Zan had already come to him. In the blink of an eye, Han Chang met a pair of indifferent eyes. Quote. With a tense mind, Han Chang subconsciously swung his sword and slashed. Boom, sparks fly. In his shrunken pupils, Ruoshui easily blocked the fire element sword. The biting cold air froze the flaming sword in an instant. Han Chang quickly let go of the hilt of his sword, and when he was about to retreat, a red arc cut his cheek. Looking at it, I found that Ling Zan's left fist was ready to strike. Inch strength open sky. Blast out with one punch. Boom. Forehead. Han Chang's pupils bulged, and he was sent flying like a cannonball. The thunder light dissipated, Ling Zan shook his hand. It hurts so much, I will use it on girls after the sky is opened. Although he hasn't learned Kun Shin Fist, he still knows how to open the sky, and he just punches at the opponent with all his strength. Cough, cough, cough. A violent coughing sound came from a distance. Ling Zan raised his head, and saw Han Chang struggling to get up, covering his chest with one hand. It's really merciless. If it wasn't for the inner armor given by his father, he probably would have knelt down. Are you still here? Ling Zan raised Ruoshui's sword and said to Han Chang. I said, can I see your full strength? Boom. Endless flames spread from Han Chang's feet, turning a radius of 500 meters into a sea of flames in an instant. Han Chang stood in the sea of flames, looking at Ling Zan provocatively. He raised the big sword with one hand, and endless flames flowed from the ground like hundreds of rivers to the sea, continuously flowing towards the great elemental sword in Han Chang's hand. The originally red sword body was coated with a layer of orange brilliance. Looking at Han Cheng's firm eyes, Ling Zan showed a helpless smile. Your competitive personality really hasn't changed at all. Han Cheng grinned. Thank you for the compliment. If you don't use all your strength, I will die with this blow. Understood, I will satisfy you. Ling Zan waved his hand. Ruishui, help me with all your strength. I will use that trick. Yes, master. Ruishui's voice came from the sword. Boom. Stepping on the ground, Ling Zan flew into the sky. Han Cheng raised his head and stared at Ling Zan, who was stagnant in midair. He slowly raised Ruishui's sword. Endless cold spread. Hold the sword in your hand, pointing the tip of the sword down. God is extremely changeable, and everything is wonderful in words, and it cannot be questioned in form. Following Ling Zan's voice sounded. If the water sword shakes. A huge Tai Chi diagram emerged in the void. Click, click. There was a freezing sound. With the control of the sword spirit Ruishui, the endless cold air spread towards the void. Roar. The Haokai overflowing from the Ruishui sword can condense into a blue dragon soul in the void. The surrounding environment is rendered in ice blue. The cold wind blew, and the flames around Han Cheng couldn't help wilting a little. Hey, this is much better than Tan Yukin's cold rain ice butterfly. Han Cheng stared blankly at the dragon soul in the sky. Holding the hilt of the sword with both hands, aiming the sword point down at Han Cheng, Ling Zan spoke. If the water sword, the zero-rated power. Taishu sword god. Roar. The dragon chant sounded, and the ice dragon let out a deafening roar. Opened its huge mouth, and rushed down. Disaster karma ruling. Han Cheng's pupils froze, and the big sword held in one hand swung fiercely towards the sky. Air is ignited. Boom. Like a tsunami that engulfed the world, the terrifying flames crazily flocked towards Taishu sword god's dragon soul. Yan Liao eternal silence. Han Cheng, holding a big sword in one hand, blocked all his aura, and swung a blow that burned mountains and boiled seas. Boom. The two collided, and the endless water vapor spread, submerging everything. This guy is hard enough. A flat voice sounded. The fog cleared, revealing Ling Zan, who was standing, and Han Cheng, who was unconscious. Ruishui, how is it? Is there any discomfort? Letting go of the Ruishui sword, Ling Zan looked at Ruishui, who came out of the sword, and said with concern. Ruishui shook his little head. I'm fine, but next time I use sword god, it will take a week. Thanks for your hard work. Ling Zan touched Ruishui's head and let him sit on his shoulders. Looking at Han Cheng lying unconscious on the ground, Ling Zan raised his hand. Snapped. Single quote. Accompanied by the ringing sound of snapping fingers, the fantasy forbidden area faded away like mist, and the two returned home. Brother, you are back. Xiaochong shouted. Nodding his head, Ling Zan looked at Han Cheng, who was lying on the ground, and two red robotic arms appeared behind him, picking up the sleepy Han Cheng. Because of the fantasy forbidden area, although his injuries recovered, Han Cheng was still in a coma due to the exhaustion of being emptied of his spiritual energy in an instant. I can't wake up for a few hours. Aisha, prepare an extra pair of bowls and chopsticks for the evening. Okay. Aisha nodded slightly. After placing Han Cheng in the guest room, Ling Zan continued to watch TV with Xiaochong. As time goes by, evening, hiss. Han Cheng regained consciousness, and the severe headache made him gasp. Where am I now? He looked blankly at the strange ceiling. By the way, I played against Ling Zan to see how it looks like. I lost. Han Cheng sighed. Although I had expected it long ago, when I really lost, I still felt unwilling. Holding his head, Han Cheng sat up, leaned on the bed, and looked out the window. Is it dark already? It's summer now, and it's dark at least around 7 o'clock. Click. Door open. Brother Xiao Han, you're awake. Looking intently, Han Cheng saw Xiaochong with a pair of silver ponytails at the door looking at him in surprise. Ruishui was still in his arms. It's Xiaochong. Han Cheng smiled. Brother Xiao Han is awake. Xiaochong turned around and shouted at Ling Zan. Soon, Ling Zan and Aisha walked over. Ling Zan glanced at Han Cheng, who was sitting up. Are you awake? Hurry up and eat. All the injuries on your body have been healed for you. All right. Han Cheng was taken aback for a moment, only then did he realize that apart from a little headache, he didn't even have any bruises on his body. Wake up. 5 people sat around the dining table. Today's dinner is tomato and egg, beef stew with potatoes, chicken and pepper curry, fried steak and fruit salad. Aisha brought up the dishes one by one. You eat so much every night? Han Cheng asked blankly at the dishes on the table. If not, Ling Zan stuffed the sliced dragon fruit into his mouth with a toothpick. Han Cheng was sour. Watching Ling Zan enjoying himself was worse than eating dirt. Mr. Han Cheng likes to eat, you can eat more. Aisha smiled. These are what she and May have learned recently. Learning different dishes every day has also caused Ling Zan to have different meals almost every day. Wow, it's delicious. With one bite, Han Cheng was about to cry. Thinking about his parents not at home, either he was cooking or ordering takeout, and he had a younger sister who was so oily, Han Cheng really wanted to cry. Your sister still has room to grow, so push her hard. Looking at Han Cheng's appearance, Ling Zan, who is a brother, patted him on the shoulder and comforted him. Han Cheng thought of his old sister's lazy look, and his face turned black. Thank you, I think she is hopeless. It's better to marry off early and harm other people. Mr. Han Cheng, don't worry, there are many more. Aisha looked at Han Cheng who was eating non-stop. Han Cheng, Ling Zan, how about I come to your house every day for dinner? You tell Aisha, I can't make the decision. Aisha? Well, if Mr. Han Cheng likes it, he can come here often. Aisha glanced at Ling Zan and said to Han Cheng. Look, if you don't mind the trouble, it's up to you. Ling Zan said indifferently. Great, dinner is over. Han Cheng leaned on the chair and stroked his stomach. I haven't eaten so full for a long time, hiccup. It's just Shuan. After giving him a blank look, Ling Zan walked into the storage room and brought out a black box. Put the box in front of Han Cheng. This is for you. What's this? Han Cheng glanced at Ling Zan curiously, then set his eyes on the box. Open it and see. Click. With the opening of the box, a pair of guns came into view. This is. Han Cheng was taken aback. Pressing the palm of the hand on the barrel, a cold touch came. Taking out one of them and looking at the black and white pistol in his hand, Han Cheng showed a puzzled expression. Take a look at the aura. Hearing Ling Zan's words, Han Cheng mobilized his spiritual energy. Next second, this silent gun unexpectedly revealed a red light. Spiritual weapons. Han Cheng showed a surprised expression. This thing is not cheap. Forget it, I named this gun the Heavenly Fire Sacred Judgment. It is a fire-attributed weapon. Why haven't I seen this style in the market? Han Cheng asked, looking at the Heavenly Fire Sacred Judge. Of course I haven't seen it before. I did it myself. Scared, did you do it yourself? Han Cheng had an expression off. You're kidding me. Don't believe me, I made this sword specially for you, put the handle together and have a look. Sword, I was puzzled. Han Cheng did as he did, closing the two parts of the handle of the gun. Next second, in his shocked eyes, the two guns merged into one, turning into a big sword. Turned into a sword. Seeing the weapon in his hand, Han Cheng was stunned. He is like a child who has never seen the world. This kind of technology is not without it, but it is mastered by the state and is not suitable for civilian use. Where did you get this weapon? I picked it up. Ling Zan felt that even if he said he did it, the other party might not believe it, so he simply put it badly. Han Cheng, why did you suddenly send me this? Looking at the Skyfire great sword in his hand, Han Cheng asked. When I saw you use up all the spiritual energy to launch an attack, I knew that you were destined for this weapon. Ling Zan affirmed. Han Cheng, does it mean that swinging this weapon once will exhaust the whole body's spiritual energy? That's not going to happen. It's fine if you don't. Just burp. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. In order to protect the one you love, save your life, go launch an awesome attack. Quote. Go away. Han Cheng directly threw the Skyfire greatsword to Ling Zan. Give me such a dangerous thing. You do not want. I haven't talked about a girlfriend, I haven't held a girl's hand, I haven't experienced the pain of an adult man, how can I die young? Ling Zan. 0.0. After pondering for a while, Ling Zan said, you want to say that, I'll lend you some money to wash your feet. Go, no backquote d, no, don't worry, I'm just kidding you. Ling Zan laughed. Han Cheng exhaled. I knew it, you still have a conscience. I didn't lie to you about NP's attack. Karma. So it's going to be a real burp, right? Of course, that's for other people. Sacred Fire Sect has extremely terrifying flames and explosive power. I have observed your flames, which is enough to control this sword, but if it is someone else, it may directly ignite spontaneously. That is to say, what will this sword do to me? Right. Scared me. Han Cheng let out a breath. You guys really have only a little bit of conscience. Hey, Ling Zan stuck out his tongue. Hey, you're big. Walk slowly. At the door, the 4 members of Ling Zan's family waved to Han Cheng and watched off their friends. Tomorrow is the college entrance examination. You can have some snacks. Han Cheng waved his hand and left with his suitcase. Whether I take the exam or not doesn't mean much to me now. Ling Zan murmured, looking at Han Cheng's back. He used to study to live a good life, but now he can't help but worry about such things at all. The exchange of points in the group chat is 1,000, and there are 10 points for signing in every day. The most important thing is to pay off the background, and the system will handle the aftermath. Let's go back to. Pushing Aisha's back, Ling Zan led Xiao Chong, and the 4 entered the room. Mr. Ling Zan, you have an exam tomorrow, go to rest early, and leave Xiao Chong to me. Aisha said after returning to the room. Obviously, she listened to Han Cheng's words. It's just that Ling Zan doesn't care about the exam, but seeing Aisha's cheering eyes, it's hard to refuse. Helplessly smiled. Understood, you should also go to bed early, and don't secretly study recipes and do housework at night. Ling Zan holds Aisha's hand. There are still traces left by the knife on it. Oh, I'm fine. Aisha quickly withdrew her hand, and then pushed Ling Zan's shoulder. Mr. Ling Zan, go upstairs quickly. Okay, I'll go right away. Ling Zan said with a smile. Aisha also came to the house for a few days. Ling Zan was very relieved to hand over the house to the other party. Good night, brother. Xiao Chong, who was holding Ruishui, called out to Ling Zan. Since Ruishui came, Xiao Chong has been hugged in her arms almost every day. The same goes for Xiao Chong, children can't stay up late. Okay, carrot. Ding. Today's sign-in is open. May I ask if the host has signed in? Sign in. The next day, Ling Zan sat up with the sound of the system. He has fully adapted to the system's fixed prompt, and woke up almost at the same time the system opened. Ding. Sign in successfully. Congratulations to the host for getting Entanglement Fate X10. Ling Zan, who was scratching his head, paused. Can this also be used as a reward? Ding. The system can issue something that only the host can't think of, and there is no system that can't sign it. Excellent, my leader. Ling Zan gave the other party a thumbs up. System. Thank you for the compliment. May I ask the host if there is a lottery draw? Let's smoke it. What kind of hamster is that if you don't smoke when you have a prize? In the next second, a lottery page appeared in front of Ling Zan. 10 meteors pierced the blue sky, and in Ling Zan's shocked eyes, golden light bloomed across the screen. 10 consecutive withdrawals. Am I leaving Africa and entering the EU? Ling Zan couldn't believe it. Thinking back to the time when the 6th anniversary celebration of Beng 3 had given out the 3 keys of Huang Huang by himself, he felt so hopeless in his heart. Could it be that as time travels, luck also changes? In Ling Zan's expectant eyes, the golden light dissipated. In the next second, the pupils were filled with a fiery red figure. Quote. In an instant, the smile froze. How do you say that? Judgment, Rua. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the character template, Diluc. Weapon, Don Excalibur. The system's voice came slowly, wafting in Ling Zan's ears. I thank you. Looking at the card engraved with the Mon people on his hand, Ling Zan thanked the system. Entanglement comes from Diluc. Why don't you give me a Barbara? After complaining, Ling Zan directly absorbed the card. Red energy flowed into his body, and in the next second, he gained the power of judgment. Someone has to lighten the darkness a little before the dawn. Opening his palms to the void, a fire bird flew from his palms and dissipated in midair. Although it's crooked, it's not a loss. There are no multipliers and holy relics in this world, and the strength is real. In this regard, Ling Zan could only use this method to comfort his fragile heart. I prefer Deluxe suit to the trial. It's just right for Himeko to wear. Yin Hong lasts all night, which is a good match with the real Red Knight. Okay, get up. Ling Zan got off the bed, washed up and went downstairs. Downstairs, Aisha has already prepared breakfast for Ling Zan early. Filling Ling Zan with a sense of happiness, it turns out that Aisha is the ideal girlfriend for all boys. Mr. Ling Zan, go slowly. After breakfast, Aisha waved to Ling Zan. Ling Zan nodded, looked at Aisha and said, "Today, Xiaochong also asked me." Do not worry. The city today is extraordinarily quiet. Because of the college entrance examination, several companies and buildings around the school stopped working, leaving a quiet place. Ling Zan, who was walking on the road, still felt a little uncomfortable. First round is math. In the examination room, Ling Zan just glanced at the question, and all the answers came to mind. After writing the answer quickly, Ling Zan threw the pen into the pencil case, lay down on the table, closed his eyes and entered the group chat. It's a pity that he couldn't hand in the paper in advance, otherwise he would go out for a stroll. Idle is also idle, it is better to find someone to chat with. I can't see. Let me tell you, I met a god today. Emperor Yan. Don't you see gods every day? Admola KC. I can't see. It's different. Morax. A god from another world. I really want to see you. I couldn't see. It's the patron saint of a shrine. It looks like a goat but is actually a fox. It suddenly appeared after I visited the shrine. Morax. Fox. Well, in terms of universal rationality, it fits my impression of a god in a country. I couldn't see. Could it be that there is a fox god in Uncle Zhongli's place? Morax. Well, it should be, sort of. Zhongli pondered for a while, and said. Ling Zan, why did you go to the shrine suddenly? With my god's eye on you, nothing will happen to you. I couldn't see. Ah, the group leader is great. Xiaochong. At Lingshuan, brother, aren't you taking an exam? Ling Zan. Those topics are too simple, and they were written in less than 10 minutes. I couldn't see. Is this the god of learning? Zhanzi looked silly. Is it really possible for a human to write a test paper in 10 minutes? The genius of the victory team. Is Mr. Group Leader still a student? Ling Zan. Graduate from high school, let's find out. The genius of the winning team. Why is this guy sleeping? Han Cheng, who was assigned to the same examination room as Ling Zan, looked at Ling Zan, who was lying on the table in bewilderment. Shouldn't you just give up? The question this time isn't too difficult. Han Cheng looked at his paper and murmured. Although he was recommended, he still wanted to take the test. Ling Zan. At Wo Bujian, Xiao Zhanzi, you should wear the god's eye that I gave you close to your body. I can't see. I always carry it with me. Morax. Does the group leader know something? Ling Zan. It's not some god who is looking for Zhanzi, but an evil ghost with resentment. The main body is the head of a witch who was sacrificed to the god. I can't see. Evil ghost. Nico, who was taking a bath, was startled. The genius of the victory team. Is it an evil spirit disguised as a god? Yi Rui was shocked, but it was not unacceptable. The recent appearance of monsters corresponds to many ancient books. It made him feel that the gods and monsters in ancient times were probably monsters. Ling Zan. It's mainly because of the living sacrifice that it is contaminated with a lot of resentment and spell power. But the god's eye with my power cannot touch you. I can't see. Okay. I saw cold sweat dripping from my forehead. I didn't expect to encounter such a dangerous thing unknowingly. Fortunately, there is a group leader. Thinking about it, Zhanzi couldn't help but clenched his god's eye. This is a life-saving thing. No matter what, you can't leave your sight. I couldn't see. That, the group leader is great. Ling Zan. Tell me. I couldn't see. Can you save my friend? She visited the shrine with me, will she be targeted? She has the eyes of God, but Hanako doesn't, and it is impossible for her to guard Hanako all the time when someone is finally alone. Ling Zan. Based on universal rationality, it can't hurt you, and it will definitely go to your friend. I couldn't see. Well, what should I do then? Zhanzi panicked. Hanako was her best and only friend. Ding. The group task is released. At this time, a window popped up in the group chat. Morax. Group quest. Zhang Li looked like Hu Dao saw Chi Chi, his expression changed suddenly. Mission. Calamity's Redemption. Task Introduction. Defeat the ghosts and gods in the I Can't See world of the group members, and liberate the girl whose soul is locked in the shrine. Reward. 500 points only for one person. Ling Zan. What is really missing? I can't see my world. Could it be Ling Zan? Well, that ghost is the shrine you went to. Emperor Yan. Only one person can go. Ling Zan. Yes. The genius of the winning team. I'm just an ordinary person, so I don't get involved in ghosts and gods. Emperor Yan. I made an appointment with a guy named Kunjong to fight, so I won't accept this mission. Ling Zan. I have to take an exam, so I can't get away. Elf Military Division. That melon boy of Jeff. Run away when you see me, I have to catch him. Suicune. Professional is wrong. Herbivorous Dragon. Hey, hey. Ling Zan. That's it, at Mola KC, this task is entrusted to you. The genius of the winning team. The rock god shook the sky, sweeping away thousands of troops. Morax. He looked at the refusals in the group, and swallowed without opening his mouth. Helpless smile. These people are really not frank. Moraxel. I see. Ding. Group member Morax accepted the task. I couldn't see. Please, Mr. Zhongli. Morax. Good. Inside the Hall of Rebirth. Zhongli opened his eyes and got up from the seat. Mr. Zhongli is going out. Seeing Zhongli walking towards the door, the little girl of Yiguan in the Hall of Rebirth couldn't help shouting. Zhongli smiled slightly. Well, I'm going out to find some friends to do something. I won't be back tonight, please tell the hall master. Ah, yes. The little girl Yiguan nodded. Return to the original. Zhongli looked around and had a panoramic view of Liu Port. There was a rare turmoil in his calm heart. Do you want to go through? Zhongli pressed yes without hesitation. In the next second, a pitch-black void appeared in the void, and Zhongli, who was familiar with the road, stepped into it. Just the second after Zhongli left, a blue-colored figure appeared as the breeze blew past. Looking at the empty Gilliwan, a suspicious voice sounded. Emperor, Morax, at I Can't See, where are you? I can't see. At Morax, Mr. Zhongli, are you here? Morax, well, it's here, but there are a lot of people. I can't see. Zhongli raised his head and looked at the men and women frantically taking pictures of him in front of him, with a wry smile on his face. People from another world are so enthusiastic. This little brother is so handsome. What is he wearing? The latest cosplay. ... One after the other, they gathered together and surrounded Zhongli tightly. Sorry, make way. At this moment, a figure rushed into the crowd and grabbed Zhongli's arm. Looking at the back of that white hand, Zhongli paused. The next second, a burst of force came, and he was dragged out. Zhongzi rescued Zhongli after exhausting all his efforts, and then he took Zhongli and ran away directly. The uncle who walked the bird was walked by the girl instead. Garden, you are Miss Zhongzi. Zhongli looked at the panting girl in front of him, and said with a light smile. Mr. Zhongli, please be somewhat self-dangerous. Zhongzi looked helpless. You are a dignified god. Let me save a human being. What is going on? Sorry, I've never seen such enthusiastic people in Liu. Zhongli apologized. Jianzi sighed helplessly. Although Mr. Zhongli is really handsome. Where is the shrine? Zhongli straight this topic. Zhongzi came to his senses, and the serious expression returned to his face. Please follow me. In this world, there is a lot of evil spirit and resentment. In Zhong Liming's golden eyes, he could clearly see evil spirits and wraiths that ordinary people cannot see. These creatures can be seen almost everywhere they go. Well, hearing this, Zhongzi sighed, feeling exhausted. If it's possible, I really don't want to see it. Mr. Zhongli, can you change your outfit? Sensing the gaze from the surroundings, Miko asked. Of course. Zhongli nodded. The two of them came to a blind spot, and the dark yellow energy overflowed from Zhongli's body. Next second, gone are the original brown robes, replaced by modern shirts and trousers. Is that all right? Pulling the tie around his neck, Zhongli asked. Okay, that's great. Jianzi stared blankly at Zhongli. So handsome. It was the first time she had seen such a handsome man in such a big age. Zhongli smiled warmly, straight to the heart. After sitting on the tram for a while, the two arrived at their destination. During this period, Zhongli has been staring at the outside of the tram, and everything in modern times makes him feel novel. Huh, what's going on? The previous road is still brand new. At the foot of the mountain, Zhongli looked at the mottled steps up the mountain and the surrounding weeds, and was a little dazed for a while. The traces of desertion are clearly visible, which was not the case when she visited the shrine before. There is an enchantment here, Zhongli said flatly. He stretched out his hand and gently pressed it against the void. In an instant, ripples appeared in the void. Next second, when the strong wind hit, Zhongli was forced to cover her eyes. When they opened their eyes again, the two were already in a brand new shrine. The owner here doesn't seem to welcome me very much, Zhongli's voice sounded. Zhongli followed Zhongli's line of sight. In front of the shrine, there were two golden lights radiating from their bodies, and a white figure wearing a fox mask stood there like a patron saint. It's them, those two little gods, Zhongli said excitedly. Is this power the magic power? Zhongli looked at the golden energy on the two Shikigami, and murmured. It's a pity that no matter how you pretend, that resentment can't be covered up. Zhongli raised his head. On the top of the shrine, a fox like a god was sitting there, staring at him firmly. Jingle. Suddenly, a bell rang. Boom. The air exploded, and the two Shikigami rushed towards them without warning. Mr. Zhongli. Zhongli was startled, and quickly hid behind Zhongli. Zhongli raised his hand unhurriedly, the black rock-colored elemental force spread, and a golden jade barrier emerged in the void. Boom, boom. The hard jade barrier directly sent the two Shikigami flying, hitting heavily on both sides of the shrine. The originally gorgeous shrine was turned into ruins in an instant. Okay, that's amazing. GNZ was full of little stars. Is this the difference between righteous gods and false gods? Zhongli, take the god's eye that Lingzan gave you. Ah, good. After Zhongli came to his senses, he clenched the eye of God with both hands. Boom. Single quote. Accompanied by a huge explosion, I saw the fox god, who was on the dome before falling to the front of the shrine. The strong wind made Zhongli's robe buzz. The two Shikigami who were knocked into the air also flew back to the sides of the fox god. See you, see you, see you, see you. The name of Zhongli was shouted from the mouth of the fox god, from the whisper at the beginning to the roar of the evil spirit at the end. He could hear Z's heart tremble, and cold sweat drenched his clothes on the back. It's the same as the group leader said, it's a living sacrifice. Zhongli just took a look and understood the essence of the other party. Maidens are sacrificed to the fox god. However, the dead girl was not redeemed, and she was imprisoned here by the ghosts in the mountains. In the end, he degenerated into the current evil spirit. It fulfills people's wishes at the cost of being a part of it. Is this the second condition for completing the mission? Rescue the girl trapped in the evil spirit. Just when Zhongli was thinking, this evil ghost disguised as a god finally showed its original face. The whole body is surrounded by black air, and the body is completely black and composed of Kagura bells. The black dot-like pupils in the empty eyes are staring at Zhongli and the two penetratingly. See you. It opened its mouth full of fangs and let out a roar from hell. Zhongli looked at the huge ghost with a terrified expression. With a sound of paw, Zhongli, whose legs were weak, slumped down on the ground, looking so helpless and pitiful. See you. Seeing his favorite prey, ghosts and gods rushed towards Zhongli. Roll. Zhongli's pupils sharpened, and a soft drink came out of his mouth. Boom. Next second, terrifying elemental power erupted from Zhongli's body. The ground sank, and the violent rock elements drowned everything. The ghosts and gods couldn't help but stop, using all their ghost energy to resist this domineering and majestic energy. Raising his hand, the power of the elements built a dark yellow spear. With a thought, the spear shot out directly. Boom. Where the spear passed, the blue bricks on the ground cracked one after another, leaving a dent. The rock gun pierced through the body of the ghost and god, and firmly fixed it on the stone tablet behind the shrine. Puff. A mouthful of black blood spewed out from the mouth of the ghost and god, and it spread out on the ground listlessly. Why? See child dumbfounded. A single blow can seriously injure ghosts and gods. Is this the gap between false gods and righteous gods? Can you still move? Okay. With Zhongli's support, Zhongli stood up. Follow me. Zhongli took a step forward. Da da da. The sound of steady footsteps was like the sound of knocking on the door of hell, which made the ghosts and gods who had lived for hundreds of years feel fear for the first time. However, Zhongli ignored it and walked straight towards the shrine. Zhanzi grabbed Zhongli's clothes and followed closely behind. When passing ghosts and gods, when he met those creepy pupils, his lips would still tremble uncontrollably. Looking at Zhongli's direction, the ghost seemed to have thought of something, and his face changed drastically. The already distorted face became even more pervasive. Jingle, jingle, jingle. The violent bell rang, and the shrine became crumbling amidst the tsunami-like sound. Mr. Zhongli. Zhanzi looked at Zhongli in fear. After all, she is just an ordinary girl. Even if you can ignore the evil spirits, you will still feel fear in the face of death. Fine. To this, Zhongli only said 2 words. A very miraculous scene appeared. Those 2 simple words really calmed Zhanzi down, and the original fear disappeared. Is this Morax's sense of security? The ringing of the bell became more and more intense, but no matter how the ghost struggled, the rock gun remained motionless. Compared with the resentment of the demon gods in the War of Demon Gods, the ghosts and gods, the resentful bodies constructed by the evil spirits in the mountains, are really not enough. In addition to shouting louder, click, the door of the shrine was opened. In the room, it seems that something is enshrined. On the wooden platform in the middle, there is something covered with a cloth. Zhongli walked over calmly, and lifted the cloth, revealing a head that had already dried out. This is one of the goals this time. The head of the sacrificed girl is also the body of the ghosts and gods outside. Without hesitation, Zhongli put one hand on it. Click. There was a crackling sound. In the next second, Zhanzi saw the head dissipate into a spot of light. Ah! At the same time, the ghosts and gods locked outside by the rock gun wailed miserably. Next second, the body of the ghost god began to collapse, and countless evil spirits flew out of it. After all the ghosts left, a girl with a head covering slowly stood up from where the ghosts were. That's it. Zhanzi stared blankly at the girl. Seeing the 2 people walking out of the shrine, the girl bowed to them lightly. Zhongli nodded. In the next second, the girl turned into a spot of light and dissipated. In contrast, there are those 2 Shikigami. They are all powerful magicians, but they were imprisoned here because of the power of ghosts and gods. Now that ghosts and gods are eliminated, they are naturally freed. Ding! The mission is complete. Congratulations on getting 500 points. The sound of mission completion sounded. Finished. Hearing the notification tone of the group chat, Zhanzi sat slumped on the ground, remembering the face of the evil spirit, with a smile of the rest of his life on his face. The sky cleared up and the sun fell on her body. The warm sun made her shed tears of excitement. It's great to be alive. Ding! Group member Zhongli sent a lucky red envelope. At this moment, a reminder sounded in Zhanzi's mind. Subconsciously entered the group and clicked on the red envelope. Ding! Congratulations on getting 80 points. Emperor Yan. So many points. Admola KC, don't you send out all the reward points? Morax. No, I kept 100. I am already very satisfied with the opportunity to travel this time. There is one thing to say, Morax is worthy of being the god of business, and he has a good business mind. The genius of the winning team, Mr. Zhongli, I love you. Moraxel. As long as everyone likes it. Miss Zhanzi, the task has been completed, the next step is my private request. After exiting the group chat, Zhongli spoke to GNZ. Ah, say it, Zhongli, there are still 5 hours before the return, I hope you can take me around this city, I wonder if you are free. No problem, Mr. Zhongli, you have helped me so much, this matter should be. However, see you soon, don't think so. On the street, she looked at Zhongli in front of her with a look of exhaustion. What the hell is it that boys are more powerful than girls when they go shopping? Woo, it's too bad, it's really too bad. It's really too long to see your friend. Hanako, who was called over to carry her bag, collapsed on the ground, dripping with sweat. Panting for breath, her legs were trembling from the long endurance. Don't say strange things to the savior. Zhanzi just flicked Hanako's head. Well, what kind of savior? Hanako covered her forehead, dazed. It's okay, I'll treat you to some delicious food when it's over. Looking at the cute Hanako, Miko said softly. That's what you said. Hanako's eyes lit up. Good. I'm motivated again. Hanako stood up, full of energy. Miss Johnzy, can you come over and have a look? Zhongli's voice came from the front. I'm coming. Seeing Johnzy who Pidian ran over to pay, Hanako was dumbfounded. That's weird. Thank you very much today, Miss Johnzy. Zhongli looked at Jianzi in front of him and thanked him. It's me, Mr. Zhongli, you have helped me so much, it's all due. Wiping the sweat off his brow, Miko showed a tired smile. She's done more exercise today than she's put together in a year. This is because she and Hanako took turns to play, and she can barely stand firm now. I dare not even imagine how she would be tortured by Zhongli without Wazi. As for Hanako, I was so tired that I fell asleep on the park bench. To trouble you today. Zhongli saw Johnzy's fatigue and felt a little apologetic. Everything in the different world filled him with curiosity, which also caused him to lose his attention. Afterwards, Zhongli took out a god's eye from his bosom and handed it to Jianzi. I don't have anything else, so this god's eye is just a thank you gift. Looking at the eye of the rock god in front of him, Jianzi shook his head quickly. How can this be done? You have already helped me a lot, how can I still ask for your things? No, this is absolutely not possible. Miss Johnzy, I told you when I was at the shrine that the rest of the time is my private matter, and I am taking up your time, so I should pay you accordingly. Zhongli said seriously. As the god of contract, he attaches great importance to equivalent exchange. The task issued by the system has given him points in return. And Johnzy spent an afternoon with him, which is a favor in itself. As we all know, favors are the hardest to repay. In addition, because of my own reasons, I caused a lot of trouble for the two of Johnzy. In terms of emotion and reason, he couldn't let the two of them go home empty-handed. This, seeing Johnzy who was extremely determined, he hesitated. Zhongli, this eye of God contains my stored immortal power, and with it, I can protect my body, avoid all evils and retreat, and prevent all dharma from invading. Miss Johnzy has the god's eye protection of the group leader, but Miss Wazi does not. Presumably, you don't want what happened today to happen again. Quote exclamation mark quote. As soon as these words came out, Johnzy finally reacted. She raised her head and met Zhongli's faint smile. He took a deep breath. I see. After finishing speaking, he solemnly took the eye of God. I look forward to meeting you next time, Miss Z. Seeing Johnzy who received the god's eye, Zhongli nodded slightly, turned into light and left this world. Looking at the direction where Zhongli left, Johnzy clenched the god's eye in his hand and bowed. Thank you, Mr. Zhongli. Are you back? With the breeze blowing, Zhongli opened his eyes again and found that he had returned to Guiliyuan. It is already night now, and from here, the lights of Wanjia in Liu Port are right in front of my eyes. I want to buy sweet-scented osmanthus to accompany the wine, but it's a pity when the old man will meet again. Under the star-studded night sky, Zhongli walked towards Liu Port with his hands behind his hands. Liu at night is still very lively, and the laughter of children echoes in the market and the port. Zhongli, who was walking on the blue brick road, listened to the noise around him, with a smile on his lips. Liu lives and works in peace and contentment, which is what he, a god, most wishes to see. On the way back to Shengtang, Zhongli was in a daze when he saw the glazed lily blooming under the moonlight. It's a pity, it would be great if there were cameras at that time. Hall of Rebirth. As soon as Zhongli opened the door, a plum-red figure greeted him. Zhongli, where have you been this afternoon? Surrounded by Zhongli, the eccentric girls asked curiously. To meet a friend. I'm your hall master. It's the hall master's job to care about the whereabouts of employees. If the hall master has guessed it, I will tell you. Zhongli picked up the tea on the table and took a sip. Zhongli, you've turned bad. Hu Dao pursed her lips, folded her arms, and said unhappy. Ha ha. Zhongli chuckled, then took out a bag and put it on the table. Master, this is for you. What? Walnut leaned over curiously. The moment she opened it, the golden light almost blinded her plum blossom eyes. Zhongli's voice came slowly. This is the money I owe on credit, please fill it in, the hall master. Although it is domineering in the account of Shengtang, the fact is that Hu Dao is deducted from his salary. But Hu Dao didn't really deduct all of Zhongli's salary. On the basis of leaving the basic salary for daily expenses, the other salary was used to pay off the debt. He happened to get a lot of points today, so he exchanged the points for relative mora to pay off the remaining debts. Quote. However, the moment Zhongli's voice fell, the entire Hall of Resurrection fell silent in an instant. Everyone's complexion changed drastically. Hu Dao even looked at the purse in his hand with a look of horror, as if he saw some great evil. Hall Master. Seeing that Hu Dao had been silent for a long time, Zhongli couldn't help but be curious. Ah, after a short life, Zhongli actually has money. Am I dreaming? Hu Dao had an expression of collapse, and his soul almost went out of his body. Zhongli, he just took out the money, is there any need to be so surprised? Bang bang bang. At this time, the impact sounded. Zhongli saw that Hu Dao was banging his head against the pillar crazily, muttering the word, nightmare, incessantly. Master, are you exaggerating? Zhongli couldn't help but speak. It's more than an exaggeration, it's simply frightening, said Hu Dao, who stopped. Hall Master, your forehead is bleeding. It's not important, I must get out of this nightmare as soon as possible. This dream is too scary, Zhongli is actually rich. Is Tivat about to be destroyed? Zhongli. After the exam, Ling Zan returned home. The candy bought in the street shop was given to Xiaochong by magic tricks. Brother is amazing. Looking at the candy in Ling Zan's palm, Xiaochong's face was full of admiration and surprise. It doesn't matter if you eat or not, the main thing is the strong sense of surprise. Rubbing Xiaochong's head, Ling Zan smiled and said, go and play. Ling Zan, have a glass of juice. Aisha came over with freshly squeezed orange juice. Thanks. Thank you. Ling Zan took it. One sip, the sweet and sour juice blooms in the taste buds. Aisha, do you want to go to school? Ling Zan asked suddenly. Go to school? Well, in the second half of the year, Kiana and the others will also go to school, so I wonder if you want to go too. Then can I go to the same school as you, Mr. Ling Zan? Aisha subconsciously asked. I'm not going. Ling Zan scratched his cheek. Why, Ling Zan? Going to school is meaningless to me. Going to school is nothing more than to have a way out. Now that he has all the strength to lie flat, he naturally doesn't think about going to school. Then I won't go either. Don't you want to make some new friends? But I just want to stay where there is Mr. Ling Zan. Aisha closed her eyes and said loudly. Ling Zan stared blankly at Aisha with her eyes closed. Ah, sorry. Aisha, who reacted hurriedly, said. Quote. Aisha, please agree. After a moment of silence, Ling Zan swiped at the void. The next moment, a pop-up window appeared in front of Aisha. Would you like to join the super-dimensional group chat? Whether this is. Aisha looked at the pop-up window in surprise. Agreed, the answer is all inside. Ling Zan took a sip of orange juice and said. Aisha had no doubt that he was there, and clicked yes. In the next second, her consciousness was pulled into a pitch-black space. Ding! Our Lady's Smile joined the group chat. The opposite is the welcome prompt for group chats. I can't see. Welcome newcomer. Winning genius. Welcome. Herbivorous dragon. Group status -1. Morax. Is there only one group member this time? Ling Zan. Let me introduce you, Aisha, my friend. Emperor Yan. A friend of the group leader. That must be very strong. At Shengma de Xiao, come and fight with me. Ding. Group member Yandi was silenced by the group leader Ling Zan for 10 minutes. Herbivorous dragon. Shivering. Ling Zan. At Yandi, don't fight and kill all day long. Aisha is not a combatant, but a nanny. Herbivorous dragon. That's right, what's the point of fighting? If you get hurt all over, it's better to lie down and sleep comfortably. Ling Zan. At Shi Sao Long, shut up too. Herbivorous dragon. Oh. Morax. Nurse. Ling Zan. Similar to Chi-Chi, it's an auxiliary treatment. Moraxel. Understood. Zhang Li took out his notebook and wrote down the new vocabulary, nanny. Xiaochong. Sister Aisha. The Virgin's Smile. Xiaochong. Xiaochong. It's me. Aisha opened her eyes, and looked at Xiaochong, who wanted to change Ruishui's clothes in surprise. Xiaochong, are you also in that group? Xiaochong nodded. Well, it's just that my brother usually asked me to keep it a secret. Taking advantage of Xiao Chong's slack, Ruoshui hastily arranged her clothes and flew out of Xiao Chong's clutches. At this moment, Aisha felt a little uncomfortable, but more happy. Because she just glanced at it, and there were no Qiana and others inside. In other words, Ling Zan truly regarded her as one of his own. Aisha is very simple, and all her thoughts are shown on her face. Ling Zan understood it at a glance. Click on the group portrait and you will know everything. Ling Zan reminded. Okay. After answering, Aisha closed her eyes and re-entered the group chat consciously. The moment she clicked on the group portrait, a huge amount of information poured into her mind. Mr. Ling Zan, are you a god? After receiving the message, Aisha looked at Ling Zan in shock. Connecting to other worlds, even the god of the Bible may not be able to do it. It's pretty much the same thing about God. Ling Zan recalled his identity as a Hersher, and said. But when these words fell into Aisha's ears, they had another meaning. She thinks that Ling Zan is the god sent by heaven to redeem her. Immediately knelt on the ground, folded his hands together, with a pious expression on his face. O Lord Almighty, is this my salvation? Looking at Aisha who was kneeling and praying, Ling Zan frowned slightly, stretched out one hand, and directly grabbed Aisha's arm. With Aisha's exclamation, she was dragged into Ling Zan's arms. Leaned over. The brown eyes are opposite to the blue eyes. Mr. Ling Zan. Aisha's face turned red instantly, and there was a little trill in her delicate voice. Looking at those flawless eyes, the corners of Ling Zan's mouth slightly raised. Aisha, there is a God in front of you, believe in God instead of me. I will be angry. Yes, sorry. Ling Zan gently lifted Aisha's chin, and said in an unquestionable tone. Listen, you can only kneel in front of me in the future, and you can only pray to me, understand? Yes, I understand. Aisha nodded like a chicken pecking rice. That's right, as my believer, you must get a seal. In the next second, Aisha's mouth was blocked. Wow, Xiao Chong covered his eyes with his hands, trying not to look at them. Helpless, the gap between the 5 fingers is too big, Xiao Chong can only be forced to see everything in his eyes. Hoo. Aisha, who was separated, exhaled like blue, her eyes were blurred, and there was sweat dripping from her neck. Well, however, before Elsa took a few breaths, Ling Zan grabbed her head and started the second round. Aisha responded awkwardly. Suicune. The group leader has disappeared again. Winning genius. Normal, I'm used to it. Elf military division. Isn't there someone next to the group leader? Goblin military division. At Xiao Chong, tell sister, where is your brother? Xiao Chong. My brother didn't go anywhere, he is bullying my sister. Emperor Yan. What? I didn't expect the leader of the group to be the one who bullies women. I can't see. I always feel like it's not literally. Xiao Chong. Yeah, I seem to enjoy seeing my sister. The genius of the winning team. Elf military division. I can't see. It's all people who have been here, and it's easy to get through. Moraxel. Well, in terms of common sense, did we hear something serious? I can't see. Is it too late for me to be deaf now? Ding. Group member Xiao Chong was silenced by the group leader Ling Zan for 1 hour. Genius of the winning team. Should be. Got too late. I couldn't see. Wu, at Ling Xuan, be gentle with me. Ling Zan. Too lazy to talk to them, Ling Zan turned his attention to the culprit. Sullenly. Xiao Chong. Brother is going to eat people, run. Xiao Chong, who noticed that Ling Zan's tone was wrong, was taken aback, quickly ran back to the room, closed the door, and threw himself into the bed. This kid. Looking at Xiao Chong who ran away without a trace, Ling Zan sighed tiredly. Aisha was like a little daughter-in-law, blushing and silent. Aisha, from today on you are my believer. Looking at Aisha's shy face, Ling Zan felt a little embarrassed for a moment. I didn't think too much about it just now, so I just said it, but now it's embarrassing. Aisha nodded slightly. Then tell you, a believer, the purpose of the god's belief. Ling Zan coughed lightly. Raise your finger. 1. Good morning kiss must have. 2. Hug every day. Aisha blushed more and more, but she nodded and agreed to everything Ling Zan said. She has lived in the church since she was a child. Pure in mind, unaware of worldly affairs. Because of the smile of the holy artifact, the Virgin Mary, she was once hailed as an existence comparable to the Virgin Mary. However, as she rescued the devil, she was regarded as a heresy by the church, and then was used by the fallen angels. She, who was already in despair, would never forget that in the dark church, there was a thunder that broke the silence and gave her the light of hope. From then on, she entrusted her heart to Ling Zan, and there was no room for other people in her small heart. Well, that's it. Ling Zan's face turned red after he finished talking about the believer's dogma. It's not so much a believer as a girlfriend. In fact, Ling Zan wasn't quite sure whether Aisha was interested in him at first. It wasn't until Aisha expressed his intentions in the last chapter that he had what to do next. Of course, he does not deny that he had impure thoughts when he took Aisha in. After all, who doesn't like a girl like Aisha who is gentle, caring, reasonable, and chuchuiran? The genius of the winning team. The group leader is offline again. Morax. Emotion is a word, even the group leader can't avoid it. Zhongli showed an old father's smile. I couldn't see. That's great, I also want to have a caring boyfriend. Morax. Miss Johnzi thinks so. I couldn't see it. No, I'll just say it casually. I'll see this kind of thing when I go to college. Looking at Zhongli, who suddenly became interested, seeing that his instinctive feeling was not good, he quickly denied it. Morax. Really, if Miss Johnzi has this idea, I can recommend someone. He is a fairy under my seat. He is serious and rigorous in his work, cold on the outside and hot on the inside, and he is handsome. If he insists on speaking of shortcomings, maybe it's the height. After getting along for a long time, he felt that it was nice to meet this girl. If he really has an idea, he doesn't mind being a month old. I couldn't see. Ahahaha, I will definitely think about it then. Johnzi smiled awkwardly but politely, her sixth sense was really accurate. Ling Zan. I'm back. Herbivorous dragon. Welcome, welcome. Emperor Yan. At Lingshuan, did you play well? Ling Zan. Why do I look like a domestic violence man? Suicune. At Yandi, if you can't speak, please shut up. Emperor Yan. Are you also worthy of teaching me how to do things? Ling Zan. Okay, I'm just going to stamp it, don't you think so, Aisha? At Shengmu de Shao. The Virgin's smile. Yes. Morax. This chapter is written deep into the marrow. Zhang Liyuan said deeply. Ling Zan. Ahem, skip this topic, skip it. Noticing Aisha, whose face was getting redder, Ling Zan spoke in the group. He was afraid that if this went on like this, with Aisha's thin skin she would faint directly. The genius of the winning team. Group leader, I've actually been thinking about a question recently. Ling Zan. Tell me. The genius of the victory team. We can cross barriers and cross the world through group chats, so will the bacteria we carry be sent there along with us? Yi Rui asked. This question troubled him for a while. Bacteria are everywhere. If modern people were placed in ancient times, they would definitely be a GU among GU. I couldn't see. Then did I harm Mr. Zhongli? Morax. Ling Zan. You don't have to worry about this, the group chat has a protection mechanism. At Sai Li Dui de Shenghuo, if you really want to put it this way, when you gave Zhongli the book, didn't you already kill a whole city of people? Genius of the winning team. Yeah. Yi Rui suddenly realized. If that was the case, Zhongli would have shot him to death, so why would he continue to talk to them calmly here? Ling Zan. So, don't talk about crossing borders, it's okay for people in the two worlds to have children. The genius of the winning team. So people from the two worlds can really have children. Ling Zan. You have a dragon, and she has a well, so why don't you have a dragon king? The genius of the winning team. 0.0. Dazed in capital letters appeared on Yi Rui's face. The metaphor is a good image, it would be even better if it was replaced by tadpoles. I can't see. Is this really something I can see? Morax. At I can't see, I don't understand, what does the group leader mean? I couldn't see. Mr. Zhongli doesn't need to understand. Emperor Yan. I hate the riddler the most. The smile of the Holy Mother. Mr. Ling Zan means, the water is not deep, and there is a dragon to make its spirit. Emperor Yan. I still don't understand, can I use vernacular? Suicune. It's normal that you can't understand it with your IQ. Emperor Yan. What are you talking about? You water dog. Suicune. Want to make gestures. Emperor Yan. Come on, I can't ask for it. The genius of the winning team. Why are you two arguing again? I couldn't see it. Perhaps it's because fire and water are incompatible. After all, these two attributes are naturally incompatible. Morax. Really? Zhongli thought of Fa Nan and Yingda. Although they were in conflict, they took good care of them. Recalling the past, the corners of Zhongli's mouth couldn't help but curl up. The friends at that time are still there, the brothers at that time are still there, and the comrades in arms at that time are still there. However, when he opened his eyes, he was the only one holding hot tea in the empty pastoral hall. And the surrounding area has long since lost the familiar shadow. Would you like to buy wine with Osmanthus? Looking at the empty hall, it is inevitable that I feel a little lonely. Recently, I miss the past more and more. Is there not much time left for me? Zhongli, here comes the big order. At this time, Hu Dao rushed in excitedly, interrupting his thoughts. Hu Dao grabbed Zhongli's arm and rushed out with him. Master. Zhongli stared at Hu Dao in a daze. Hey, this time is a super big order. Hu Dao's innocent and gorgeous smile was reflected in the golden pupils, which made his expression soften. Forget it, that's fine. Quote exclamation mark quote. Suddenly, Zhongli seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly stopped. Master, you go first, I still have some things to deal with. Walnut. Seeing Zhongli leaving, Hu Dao scratched her head. Hey, it can't be done. The other party wants you, and that's the executive officer of Zhejiang Kingdom. They said that the price can be opened at will. Hu Dao shouted. Don't worry, she won't mind. Zhongli said flatly. It's just that the script has already been adjusted, and it doesn't hurt to make a mistake for a while. Came under the dragon tree. Close your eyes and enter the group chat. Morax. Master, do you have a solution to where? Ling Zan, who was building blocks with Xiaochong, suddenly discovered that Zhongli had started a private chat. Wear and tear refers to the change of mind, cognition, etc. of things or people due to the passage of time or the wear off of various experiences, and such changes generally refer to bad changes. As the saying goes, the years smooth the edges and corners. The wear and tear here refers to emotion. The so-called demon gods in the Tivat world are aggregates of some conscious elements born in nature, not creatures in the traditional sense. And what sustains their consciousness is the individual emotion. Once the ropes that maintain emotions are worn to a certain extent, they will become like inorganic objects, reintegrate into the world, and lose their sense of autonomy. Seeing Zhongli's news, Ling Zan was stunned. Fix wear and tear. How could he? That is the torrent of law called time. System. Ask the system when things go wrong. Ding. Yes, but the energy required to rashly modify the laws of a world is too great, and someone needs to share it. You mean, ding, the system can issue collection tasks to Zhongli. As long as the points reach a certain level, the system can solve the wear and tear of one person. Understood. Wait for me to pretend. Ling Zan. Well, it seems that you have finally noticed this matter. Morax. Really, can I? Zhang Xin trembled. Ling Zan. You want to save Ruo Tuo. Morax. It's saving him, and it's saving me. Ling Zan. Zhongli, I have something to confirm. Morax. Group leader, tell me. Ling Zan. Do you want Ruo Tuo to recall the memory of protecting Liu, or do you want to completely resolve the world rule called wear and tear that has been applied to Ruo Tuo? Morax. If you just restore the memory, it will still wear out in the future. Ling Zan. Naturally, based on the rules of Tivat itself, wearing is essential. Zhongli was silent. Ling Zan gave him two choices with completely different costs. It's just a simple restoration of memory, then Ruo Tuo will still be like this after 1,000 years. But he didn't want to experience the matter of sealing his friend again with his own hands. Morax. What do I need to do if I want to get rid of the wear on Rhoda once and for all? Ling Zan. Wearing is the rule of the Tivat world, even if I want to change it, it is difficult to do it. Ling Zan. So I need you to help me share. Morax. Sharing. How? Ling Zan. I will give you a window to exchange origin points. Through this window, you can exchange items in your world into corresponding origin points. As long as the source point reaches a certain level, I can mobilize the power accumulated in the window to help Ruotuo break the shackles of wear and tear. Morax. In other words, I need to collect items that can be exchanged for origin points, right? Ling Zan. Yes, and it must be an item in your world. All items in a world will more or less have a substance called origin. Ling Zan. Only when I have accumulated enough sources, can I interfere with the rules of your world. Morax. I see. System. Seeing Zhongli's message, Ling Zan understood that he chose the second option. Immediately without hesitation, he shouted into the void. System. Ding. Accepted. Start loading. Ding. The exchange window is loaded. In the next second, a cold reminder suddenly sounded beside Zhongli's ear. Immediately afterwards, Zhongli saw a pop-up window appear in front of him, and the information about the exchange was directly entered into his mind. After receiving the message, Zhongli took out a god's eye from his pocket with curiosity, and put it on the window. Eye of the Rock God. 1,000 origin points. Only 1,000. Looking at the origin point displayed, Zhongli frowned. As an external magical organ, the Eye of God is considered rare in the Tivat continent. This is only 1,000 origin points. Is it too little? With a curious attitude, Zhongli took out a black and yellow chess piece like chess. In an instant, the corresponding information was displayed on the redemption pop-up window. Heart of Rock God. 10 million origin points. Quote. After taking a look at the 100 million origin points needed to solve Ruotuo's wear and tear, and then at his own god's heart, Zhongli fell into endless silence. After solving Zhongli's matter, Ling Zan quit the group chat and stretched himself. The method has been given to him, so let him explore it by himself. Looking at the time, Ling Zan shouted to Xiao Chong in the distance, "It's getting late, Xiao Chong should go to sleep." Okay, Xiao Chong agreed crisply. The next day, ding, today's sign-in has been opened, does the host sign in? Ling Zan interrupted the system before he finished speaking. System. Ding, sign in successfully, congratulations to the host for obtaining the Chenghong sword technique. Chenghong swordsmanship, it sounds familiar. Recently, the system has somehow gone wrong, and it keeps telling him some moves that are familiar but can't be remembered. Immediately afterwards, the system turned on the automatic teaching and transmission mode, and the sword moves and insights about the Chenghong sword art directly entered his mind. Long rainbow piercing the sun. Knowing the last move, Ling Zan suddenly opened his eyes. He said why it is so familiar, feelings or Rainbow Cat's Chenghong sword. It's off the mark, it's actually a childhood memory. Ling Zan pinched his eyebrows. Speaking of which, when he was a child, he actually thought a rabbit was pretty. But that's fine too. Thousands of swordsmanship cannot be separated from one. With the comprehension of Chenghong swordsmanship, Taishu's sword energy will get twice the result with half the effort. What's more, he also has a very matching D-loop template. Although Ruoshujian is essentially a water-controlling weapon, it has excellent adaptability to Haokai energy, and can be compatible with energy of various attributes. Thinking about it this way, has the system been premeditated? Shaking his head, he threw out his thoughts. Even so, he still won't lose money. This superb swordsmanship is exactly what he lacks. The door. After saying goodbye to Aisha, Ling Zan greeted Mei next door with a piece of bread in his mouth and went to school. Deplorable. It is obvious that he is the oldest in the two families, but he is the only one who goes to school alone. What the hell is this? The only fortunate thing is that the college entrance examination is only 2 days away, and I will be liberated after the exam today. The exam is over, please stop writing immediately. The radio rang, causing the sleeping Ling Zan to open his eyes in a daze. Finished. Turning his head, he found that it was already sunset. What's the matter with you? Have you been sleeping for 2 days? Han Cheng came over. You really don't plan on going to college? You can't just look at the surface. Let's go, brother is in a good mood today, I treat you to dinner. Ling Zan smiled and hugged Han Cheng. Han Cheng said uncertainly, really? Nature. Okay, I want to eat seafood buffet. Don't push yourself too far. It was you who said to invite me to eat. I told you to eat, but I didn't give you the right to choose. Han Cheng. Then what do you say to eat? Ling Zan smiled slightly. I think the braised chicken on Shengmao Street is pretty good. Han Cheng. all right, as long as you are happy. Is the heavenly fire sacred judgment easy to use? I'm busy reviewing, I haven't had time to open it yet. Oh, the two chatted while thinking about going to the door. Just in time, a beautiful figure approached. Two handsome guys, where are you going? Go to dinner, do you want to join us? Han Cheng said. Okay. Tan Yukin laughed and walked to Ling Zan's side. Glancing at the girl next to him, Ling Zan said, girls should go home early, beware of idiots. With the two of you, who would dare to approach me? Tan Yukin chuckled. Don't underestimate me, I am very strong. As he spoke, his index finger was in front of him, and a cold rain ice butterfly landed on his finger. Speaking of which, Ling Zan, which university are you planning to take? Tan Yukin asked, who suddenly thought of it. I want to go to St. Freya Academy. Ling Zan said casually. Hey, Street, Freya, isn't that a girls' school? Could it be that it has started recruiting boys? Tan Yukin asked doubtfully. Han Cheng shook his hand. Don't listen to him, he's just teasing you. In the past 2 days of his exams, he didn't spend more than 30 minutes answering each question paper. I don't even ask him, I don't know if I can go to school now. I think it's almost the same for him to go to Yanghai College. I heard that you can get into that school without scores, but it's just weird. Quote. The conversation between the two left Ling Zan on the side in a daze. Chapter 51. Speaking of St. Freya Academy, I heard that their headmaster is coming here to open the eastern branch. Tan Yukin suddenly thought of something, said. I've heard this too, but I don't know if it's true or not. With that said, Han Cheng put his arm on Ling Zan's shoulder. Ling Zan, you are going to enter a girls' school, do you have inside information? The corner of Ling Zan's mouth twitched. I was thinking, maybe I can really enter Street Freya's Academy. If there was no Street Freya Academy, Ling Zan would not have thought about that. But now that there is one, the three of Kiana and the others will probably go to this school. You're not serious, are you? It's a girls' school and doesn't recruit boys. Han Cheng looked like you were joking. But she recruited a teacher. Ling Zan smiled mysteriously. Han Cheng, okay, the store is here, let's go in. Before I knew it, the three of them had arrived at the door of the store. After calling and talking to Aisha about the situation, Ling Zan sat down with the two of them. After taking his seat, Ling Zan did not speak, but searched for information about St. Freya Academy. This is a Chinese foreign cooperative school. Its Dean Teresa was formerly a great nun of St. Vatican. For some reasons, she broke up with the current bishop and left the Vatican. Now she has become a citizen of Iwakuni. Quote. I always feel that it's so messy. But since we have Kiana, it seems that there is no problem with her aunt, right? Well, that's it, his receptivity has always been okay. Then came Yanghai College. Ling Zan also had an impression of this school. It was from an anime, he remembered that the heroine was a vampire. Ghost Academy. Recalling the plot, Ling Zan looked at the school photo of Yanghai College and murmured. The school introduction of Yanghai College is no different from that of ordinary schools. Just a little far, in Sakura province. This is a public college, and it can be seen that it has been controlled by the state. Oh, it's worth mentioning that after thousands of years of baptism, Iwakuni is the overlord of the Asian continent. There is no need to learn a foreign language specially, because people from other countries can learn Yangwen. If it's in the Cherry Blossom province, I'd like to see it. Ling Zan said with great interest. Street Freya's Academy has appeared. Presumably this Yanghai Academy should be similar to what he knew, an academy composed entirely of monsters. The revival of spiritual energy and space cracks have allowed this world to enter many other races. There are those who want to invade, and naturally there are those who want to coexist peacefully. Such as Western elves, angels and so on. The dean of this Yanghai College is an outsider. It's just that in order not to affect social stability, Iwakuni did not allow them to enter the mainland, but arranged them in marginal areas. After experiencing the recovery of spiritual energy, the blue star has become very large, almost dozens of times as large as before. In the beginning, countries were even overwhelmed because of too much land, but that was in the past, and now with the teleportation array and space technology, this loophole has been overcome. I heard that there are elves in Beijing University. I really want to meet them, Han Cheng said suddenly. The bloodline consciousness of those races is very strong. If you want to marry an elf, you must at least have SS level strength. Ling Zan laughed. Isn't it the SS level? I can reach it after graduating from university, Han Cheng said to himself. Graduation is the pinnacle, right? Han Cheng looked at Ling Zan and said, Ling Zan, what about you? Do you want to marry a foreigner? Look, I'm in no hurry. Ling Zan smiled and gave a vague answer. Yes, you already have Aisha. Who is Aisha? Tan Yukin asked. Forehead. Han Cheng's forehead was sweating like rain. He subconsciously covered his mouth, and secretly said something was wrong. He looked nervously at Ling Zan. Brother, I'm sorry. My girlfriend, Ling Zan said without hesitation. Tan Yukin's pupils shrank. Didn't you say that you won't fall in love during school? Ling Zan, I talked about it after school. Han Cheng, 0.0. After listening, he silently gave Ling Zan a thumbs up. Is this the art of language? It can be said that the tail of a cow flicks, showing the cow's approval. Quote. Tan Yukin, who was angered by Ling Zan, stopped talking and looked at the phone sullenly. She is just an outsider now. Other than sulking, she has no right to take care of Ling Zan's affairs at all. The atmosphere was silent, and Han Cheng felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. As time passed, the three people's braised chicken was brought up. Ahem, stop looking at your phone and eat. Han Cheng coughed lightly, breaking the silence. Ling Zan, who put down his phone, took the chopsticks from Han Cheng. Tan Yukin also put down her phone. Who would have trouble with rice? However, just when the three of them were about to eat. Boom, a huge explosion sounded from outside. Bark, an electric arc appeared on Ling Zan's arm, and he subconsciously raised his hand towards the window. Next second, boom, the window shattered, and Ling Zan easily caught a piece of cement stone that was galloping towards him. 1. Quote. The sudden scene stunned everyone. Tan Yukin covered her mouth and looked at Ling Zan, who blocked the attack in disbelief. What's the situation? Han Cheng was the first to react and said loudly. Quote. Ling Zan stared blankly at the dinner covered in dust. Hold with one hand. In an instant, the huge stone turned into atoms and dissipated in the air. Open the eyes of insight and look with fixed eyes. In the dust, a fox with a golden light and black patterns was stepping on several ordinary people. Ants should crawl at the feet of the strong. The fox lowered its head and looked at the bloody human man trampled under it, opening its mouth full of fangs. Name: Juyao. Race: Fox. Status: President of Yanghai College Student Union. Strength: A+. Weakness: Belly. Quote. President, this is the mainland, change back quickly. Different from Juyao's arrogance, the younger brother beside him is full of panic. What are you afraid of? Look at this group of ants, they don't even have the courage to rush over. Fox eyes glanced at the frightened crowd. Juyao said disdainfully. Mad, it's just a fur, so arrogant. Out of anger, Han Cheng quit immediately, rolled up his sleeves and wanted to beat him up. Just when Han Cheng was about to go on stage, Ling Zan pressed his shoulder. Han Cheng turned his head in doubt, and met a pair of red eyes. I saw Ling Zan looking at Juyao as if he was looking at a dead thing. Ling Zan. Han Cheng's pupils shrank, and he felt a palpitation instinctively. Boss, please help me make another meal and pack it. After saying something flat, Ling Zan stood up. On the dusty street, under the shocked eyes of passers-by, Ling Zan stepped through the broken window and walked slowly towards Juyao. Humanity. Noticing Ling Zan, Juyao bent down and looked at Ling Zan with interest. Do you know that I haven't eaten a bite yet? Ling Zan said flatly. He shook his hand against the void. Boom, the void shattered, and a blade covered with lightning flew out of the void and fell into Ling Zan's hands. What? Juyao was taken aback. The moment he raised his head, his ice blue pupils lit up. Stop the evil eye of the world from launching. In an instant, the world stood still. Ling Zan slowly raised his hand. Ling Zan, who was 5 meters apart, swung his saber down. Boom, the red thunder light fell from the sky like a dragon. At the same time, Ling Zan lifted the evil eye. Roar. The moment thunder fell and hit it, the pain nerves didn't even react. But 2 seconds later, a miserable fox cry resounded through the street. The sound was so loud that it was comparable to a sonic attack, and everyone couldn't help covering their ears. At the moment when the thunder light disappeared, Ling Zan stepped on the ground, and a red arc flashed across the ground. In a blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of Zhu Yao. Zhu Yao, who was so shocked that he smelled barbecue, shrank his pupils when he saw Ling Zan in front of him. Next second, Lei Guang lingered on the fist, and Ling Zan blasted directly at Zhu Yao's fox head. Death force cracks the sky. Zhu Yao, whose whole body was paralyzed by the lightning, could only watch helplessly as the fist covered with lightning approached. Click, accompanied by the sound of skull cracking. Next second, boom, the red thunder light mixed with endless flames directly sent the demon fox Zhu Yao away. Boom, 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 the huge body of the fox smashed several potholes in the ground, and finally made an emergency landing on a utility pole. Puff, Zhu Yao, whose head was covered with blood and scorched black hair, raised his head with difficulty, and after spitting out a mouthful of black blood, he lay down weakly. Just as Ling Zan walked towards Zhu Yao, a man in black robe appeared in front of it. "This friend, can you show mercy? Who are you?" Ling Zan looked at the man who suddenly stood in front of him and asked. The man pondered for a while, then pointed to Zhu Yao, who was lying on the ground with a listless face, and said, "It can be regarded as his parent. The younger ones come and the older ones come. Don't get me wrong, I didn't come to Xingxi to inquire about crimes. It is true that Zhu Yao was wrong about what happened today, but he has already been beaten like this by you, isn't that enough?" The black-robed man waved his hands quickly. At this time, Tan Yukin and Han Cheng also ran behind Ling Zan. "Who are you?" The man was taken aback when he saw Han Cheng, and his face showed sudden surprise. "So that's why he ran to this place." Han Cheng, who was watched, was taken aback. "Do I know you?" The man chuckled. "I don't know you, I just think you look familiar." Han Cheng. The man turned his attention to Ling Zan again. "Young man, how about giving me some face? Today's matter is over. I will not let go of anyone who is hostile to me." Ling Zan glanced at Zhu Yao, who was lying on the ground, looking at him resentfully, and said calmly. Hearing this, the man looked at Zhu Yao and secretly said, "Idiot." He stretched out his hand and waved towards the void. In the next second, with a loud bang, Zhu Yao was slapped by the man and sent flying. He rolled his eyes and passed out, unconscious. Ling Zan looked at this scene expressionlessly. "I apologize for what happened today, and I will also compensate those who Zhu Yao hurt for medical expenses and mental damage." The man pressed his chest with one hand and said, "I can guarantee that he won't trouble you in the future, and he won't even have contact. Oh, I almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Misumiko Noriki, and I am the principal of Yanghai College. I can make the decision. As long as today's incident is over, you can come to Yanghai College to study at any time." The man's series of words can be described as both soft and hard. The principal of Yanghai College. I remember that he is an SSS-level powerhouse. Sure enough, Han Cheng's face changed when he heard the man's identity. The expressions of the other people around also changed suddenly. The kind of person who stands on the top of the world, they probably will never meet once in their life. It was strange to say that they had just chatted about this school when the principal of the other party showed up. Dianming chuckled, and once again offered a bargaining chip that made countless people excited. "Not only that, I can also accept you as a closed disciple. How about it? Do you want to think about it?" Tan Yukin looked at Ling Zan in shock. Even the SSS powerhouse standing on top of the world wants to take him as his apprentice. How much he usually hides. Han Cheng couldn't help but look at Ling Zan. Will he agree? Under the watchful eyes of the two, Ling Zan said slowly, "I think you're thinking of farting." What? As soon as these words came out, the complexions of everyone present changed. "Refused. I'll go, such a good opportunity, even if I kneel and lick it, I still want to hug it." "Why did you refuse it?" The passers-by around seemed to be more anxious than Ling Zan himself, beating their chests and feet. Yu Shenzi Dianming's face froze for a moment, and then he returned to his smile. Hee, I'm just giving you a suggestion. You are always welcome at Yanghai College." As he said that, He turned his head and lifted Juyao, who had turned into a human form, with one hand and was about to leave. But the next second, boom, the thunder light fell, and landed firmly in front of the feet of Yushenzi Dianming. Quote. Did I say you could take him? Ling Zan, don't act dead. Han Cheng was startled, and grabbed Ling Zan's arm. You're crazy, that's an SSS-level existence standing at the pinnacle of the world. We're just awakened students, and it's no good to provoke him. Ling Zan didn't speak, but quietly looked at Yushenzi Dianming. Young people can be proud, but not arrogant. Yushenzi Dianming was silent for a while, then turned his head and said calmly. I can pretend that nothing happened just now, please don't try it a second time. Saying that, Mikamiko Noriki turned around again. Isn't it? You're not angry. Passers-by were stunned. When did the SSS-level powerhouse become so easy to talk to? Principal of Yanghai College, I don't know if you have heard such a sentence before. If I am weak then please destroy me, otherwise I will let you perish. Yushenzi Dianming's pupils froze. Turning around, his gaze became dangerous. Now it's not you who forgives me, but I'm asking you. Ling Zan raised the taidao, pointed the sword at the man, and said in a flat voice, do you want to be my enemy? Quote. Quiet, boundless silence. The whole street was so quiet that the vibration of a heartbeat could be heard. I sow. 10,000 muddy horses ran past Han Cheng's heart. It's so brave. This is to be tough to the end. Is it true that you don't save any face? Mikogami Noriki's expression turned ugly. I don't believe your guarantee, and I don't care about your quota. If anyone who makes a mistake can ask their parents to solve it, what do the police do? What if I have to take him away? Mikogami Noriki's tone changed. You can try. Ling Zan's face remained unchanged. Presumptuous, a junior, dare to talk to me like that. Yushenzi Dianming snorted coldly. The power belonging to the SSS-level ghosts and gods suddenly exploded, and the endless pressure seemed like a sky. Everyone present couldn't breathe. He is easy to talk, but that doesn't mean he has no temper. He is a dignified SSS-level powerhouse and talks to the other party calmly, but the other party doesn't even give him any face. Others may give you face, but I don't take care of it. Ling Zan snorted coldly. I'm going to peel off that fox's skin. It's not that he doesn't know what kind of urine the principal of Yanghai College is. A typical hands-off shopkeeper, the entire school is managed by the student union. Who would believe such a hands-off shopkeeper? He saw the hatred in Ju Yao's eyes. If this fox is not slaughtered today, in case he wants to take revenge when he recovers from his injuries. He is fine, but if he takes action against Xiaochong or Qiana, it will be bad. All threats must be killed in the cradle. It's over. Han Cheng had a look of lovelessness. Tan Yukin didn't speak, but clenched his fists and stood firmly beside Ling Zan. Very good. How long has it been? It has been more than 200 years. No one has ever dared to talk to me like this. Do you really think that this ghost like me is made of mud? Mikoko Noriki was very angry. The huge monster energy was released, and the surrounding space was squeezed and creaked. I think you are too presumptuous. At this moment, a cold snort sounded. In an instant, the original coercion disappeared in an instant. Migamiko Noriki's complexion changed. It's you. Give you a chance, get lost. The flat voice echoed in the void like blue waves. Yushenzi Dianming's complexion changed, and he pointed to Ling Zan. If you want me to leave, you can leave, but he must be slapped by me. Quote. No, Ling Zan will die. Tan Yukin stood in front of Ling Zan and said loudly. How? Yushenzi Dianming asked towards the void. Quote. I said, don't think I'm too weak. Ling Zan pressed Tan Yukin's shoulder and pulled him aside. Looking at Yushenzi Dianming, he asked, a palm from you. That's right. Ah, Ling Zan smiled disdainfully. You deserve it too. Holding his hand against the void, a scarlet spear emerged. Lifting his jaw, he looked at Noriaki Megami with contempt. You won't die from one blow from me, I'll let you go. Yushenzi Dianming's pupils shrank. How courageous. The huge demonic energy spread. What monsters are most proud of is their physical body. Stepping on the ground, he slammed his fist at Ling Zan. Holding the spear in one hand, Ling Zan looked at Dianming Yushenzi who was coming from the explosion, and his pupils froze. Your heart, I will accept it. Talk off. He clenched the spear in his hand and shot it straight out. Gai Bolg piercing Deaththorn lance. Hum boom. The space exploded. A long red line seems to divide the space. Quote exclamation mark quote. Sensing the aura from the spear, Yu Shenzi Noriki was shocked. Make a fist with one hand and blast out. Boom. Laugh. Yu Shenzi Dianming sent the spear flying with a punch. Next second, the spear that was knocked into the air flew back again, with a stronger impact than before. The huge force made him take several steps back. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. This directly made the passers-by around look stupid. In front of the magic spear that reverses cause and effect, Yu Shenzi Dianming does not have a chrysanthemum shield. Laugh. Next second, the red spear directly pierced the opponent's chest. Puff. Bright red blood spurted from the mouth. Yu Shenzi Dianming stared blankly at the hole in his chest, with an expression of disbelief. How is this possible? A boy who is less than 20 years old has the ability to kill him. Not only Yu Shenzi Noriki, but even the people who spoke before were shocked. Ling Zan made a move towards the void. Accompanied by the sound of piercing through the air, the spear drew several scarlet arcs in the void, and finally fell steadily into the hand. Looking at the Deaththorn gun that was not stained with a trace of blood, Ling Zan looked at Yu Shenzi Dianming with a trace of disdain. Can you still laugh now? Lord Ghost. Wait, that weapon is Gingnur. Yu Shenzi Dian, who was clutching his chest, said with eyes wide open. Gingnur. Everyone who heard this name focused their eyes on the blood-red spear in Ling Zan's hand. Okay, Odin, it's you. I've written down this grudge. Yu Shenzi Noriki let out angrily. Rushing into the void, even Ju Yao was in no mood to care about it. For monsters, piercing the heart is not enough to kill them, but their strength will plummet in a short period of time. Ling Zan was dumbfounded. What Odin? Is it not possible to allow other one-hit long guns in the world? It seems that Mikoko Noriki should have some trouble with Odin. Ling Zan also enjoys the success of this. Just sit and watch the dog bite the dog. At the same time, top of the inspection bureau building. Han Yi looked at the old man on the side with a smile on his face. Father, you are still the best, and you can calm down that ghost with a single sentence. Don't lie, if it wasn't for my good grandson, I wouldn't be bothered to come here. Han Yun gave Han Yi a white look. But it's not a bad trip, at least I saw some interesting things. Han Yun looked at Ling Zan and said softly. Okay, I'll leave it to you to deal with, and I'll go back first. Han Yun waved his hand and left directly. Call me if you get lost, and remember to come back for dinner at night. Han Yi shouted. Got it, it's really long-winded. The sound of cursing came from a distance. Han Yi smiled helplessly, and then his expression restrained, turning into his usual serious and rigid expression again. Tell Falcon Squad to go out with me. Yes, Director. This side, looking at the fainted Ju Yao in front of him, Ling Zan directly dragged him, Han Cheng and Tan Yukin into the fantasy forbidden area. This place is not suitable for long stay. When Ling Zan left, the teleportation array lit up, and the people from the testing bureau arrived. All information and videos at the scene were blocked, and those who had been onlookers before were also asked to delete photos and videos. Before the matter escalates, I have to find an opportunity to have a good chat with Ling Zan. After smoking a cigarette, Han Yi said in a cloud of mist. Inside the fantasy forbidden zone. If you have anything you want to ask, just ask, but I don't necessarily have to answer. Ling Zan looked at the two people in front of him and said. Quote. After being silent for a while, Han Cheng said, Are you really the Ling Zan I know? You won't be taken away, right? No, I'm still me, a different fireworks. It's right to be so disrespectful. Han Cheng affirmed. Ling Yuan, _ just now I heard from the principal of Yanghai College that the weapon in your hand is Gingnur. Did you take Odin as your teacher? Han Cheng asked the next question. No, he doesn't deserve it. Then where did you get your Gingnur? Who said it was Gingnur? Isn't it? Han Cheng was taken aback. Even the SSS level powerhouse said so. Could it be that there is something wrong? This is just an ordinary long gun, I have as many as I want. As he said that, He stretched out his hands, and the power of structure emerged on the palms of his hands. Immediately afterwards, 2 identical spears were constructed. Han Cheng was stunned. If you like it, I will give it to you. Ling Zan casually handed it over. Tan Yukin was startled when he saw the spear handed in front of him, and it made sense for Han Cheng, but for her. In other words, Ling Zan has me in his heart. Tan Yukin couldn't help but feel warm after brain supplementation. I will cherish it, said, solemnly took over. Ling Zan. Always feel weird. Okay, is there anything else you want to ask? How did you suddenly become so strong? Is there any shortcut? You are proficient in using the Skyfire Greatsword, it will not be a problem to kill that Yushenzi Dianming with one blow. Ling Zan said flatly. Huh, are you kidding me? Well, I can't get rid of rubbish things, although the things I give to others are generally not used. Han Cheng. *0. Xuan Q, the latter sentence is completely unnecessary. Quote. Then the 2 asked Ling Zan some questions, and Ling Zan answered selectively. Okay, I'll take you back home. Ling Zan, who was a little annoyed by the question, ended the topic on his own initiative. Fine, Han Cheng can only accept it as soon as he sees it. Ling Zan, my dad will probably look for you in the near future, remember to call me when the time comes. Han Cheng, who remembered something, reminded Ling Zan. Understood, bye. Tan Yukin looked at Ling Zan reluctantly. Before, she was still complacent about her abilities, but who would have thought that it was ridiculous that she was always the only one? She had a hunch that maybe after today, it would be difficult for the 2 of them to see each other again. After sending the 2 of them away, Ling Zan set his sights on Zhu Yao. System, is there a way to fix it? He didn't want to get his hands dirty. Ding, decomposition is in progress. Ding, the decomposition is complete. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 9 Suns Fire, Fox Fire, Demon Fox Feather Clothes X1. After decomposing Zhu Yao, the system actually got part of Zhu Yao's skills. Speaking of which, this guy was beaten by Ling Zan before he even had time to make a move. System, where's my fur? After hearing all the rewards, Ling Zan found that the fur he wanted most was gone. Ding, the fur is too exposed, it has been refined into a fox feather coat for the host. It was a light golden feather coat, which matched the golden fur of Zhu Yao quite well. Name, Demon Fox Yuya. Introduction. Anyone who wears it is immune to flames. Closing square bracket. Fire free. It's not bad, give it to Aisha. After sorting out the items, Ling Zan adjusted his coordinates and left the fantasy forbidden area. Ling Xuan's house. I'm back. Ling Zan, who opened the door, shouted into the room. Elder brother. Next second, a familiar voice sounded. Xiao Chong trotted over and gave Ling Zan a big hug. Holding Xiao Chong in his arms, Ling Zan habitually took a sip on that pink cheek. When Ling Zan raised his head, he found that the 3 of Bronya were also here, and there was a woman named Wulianta Jizi among them. Yo, brother. Jizi smiled and waved to Ling Zan. Why are you here? Ling Zan, who put Xiao Chong down, walked over. Actually, I came to you for something, and they all came to play. Bronya stood up. Did you encounter any problems in research and development? Yeah, Bronya nodded, took out the tablet, and started talking to Ling Zan about the difficulties she encountered. My little brother is really too much. I made weapons for all 3 of Kiana, but I don't have one. My sister, I will be sad. Aunt Jizzy, don't be so disgusting, be normal. Kiana looked disgusted. People who are almost on their way to the 3rd year are more or less self-conscious. How many times have I told you that you should call me sister when you go out? Jizi just punched Kiana on the head. Kiana, brother, you haven't answered me yet. Jizi, who had beaten Kiana, looked at Ling Zan. Ling Zan tilted his head. If I do it for you, what can I get? I can give you whatever you want, sister. Jizi came in front of Ling Zan, stretched out her white index finger, and gently lifted Ling Zan's chin. Looking at each other, exhaling like blue. Ling Zan sniffed. It's okay, no bad breath. He stepped back, away from Jizi's fingers. Ling Zan said, I don't care about things, my brother just wants to know how old my sister is this year. You also know that if you make a weapon, the suitable age group is also very important. Quote. The smile on Jizi's face froze, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Little brother, it's better not to ask girls' ages. That's a girl, not an aunt. Ling Zan looked innocent. Jizi, it seems that this question is somewhat insulting, so let me change it. After thinking for a while, Ling Zan said, Sister, you must have a lot of savings at such an age and you haven't gotten married yet. Quote. Three big question marks appeared on Jizi's head. This one is even worse than the last one. PFF'd, ha ha ha, I laughed so hard. May, look at Jizi's face. Cough, I can't do it. Like a fool, Kiana held her stomach, patted May on the shoulder and laughed endlessly. He laughed and choked a few mouthfuls. Kiana, stop talking. Seeing Himeko's face getting worse and worse, May hurriedly pushed Kiana. Why? However, Kiana still looked puzzled, not realizing how terrifying what was about to happen. Is it funny? A flat voice sounded. A tall black figure enveloped Kiana's petite body. Quote. Kiana's complexion changed, and she raised her head stiffly. He met Wuliangta Jizi, who smiled but didn't smile, and had a gentle face. Kiana's heart skipped a beat. Jizi. Sweat poured down his face, and he sat on the sofa nervously, not daring to move. Jizi bent down, pressed Kiana's shoulder with her right hand, and pushed her onto the back of the sofa. When the distance between their noses was only 2 centimeters, Jizi smiled and asked again, Is it funny? Kiana. The voice is very soft, very gentle, like the calm before the storm. Alas, Kiana trembled in fright, nervously said, No, it's not funny at all. Then you still laugh. Boom. Jizi punched Kiana's forehead directly with her angry fist. Kiana shook her head. There are so many stars. In the end, he rolled his eyes and passed out in May's arms. Well, it's scary. Looking at Kiana, who fainted, Xiaochong and Aisha hugged each other, trembling. In the eyes of the two of them, Jizi seemed to be a dragon standing in the flames and roaring. Stupid Kiana. Branya shook her head, then looked at Ling Zan. Stop teasing Jizi. Ling Zan shrugged, and said to Aisha beside him, Aisha, take a towel and apply it to Kiana. Okay. Then, Ling Zan continued to discuss weapons with Branya. The size of this silver-winged light howl big duck's pistol needs to be changed. The distance between the arms and the body should be considered in the shape of the double guns. It is fine with one hand, but the double guns are too big to be easy to control. Brony Yarod. Ling Zan nodded. It can be scaled down appropriately, but I won't change the overall shape. Okay. Jizi sat down again, raised her thighs, held up her teacup, and quietly looked at the two discussing. For you. Aisha brought the wet towel over. Thanks. May thanked, and covered Kiana's head with a distressed face. Quote. Have you memorized all the programs in it? Do you need my help with the construction? After solving the question raised by Branya, Ling Zan asked. Branya rolled her eyes and said, I'll leave that to you for Kiana, and I'll finish the remaining 2 by myself. Can. Ling Zan nodded without thinking too much. Reach out with one hand, and the power of blue structure emerges in the void. Under Jizi's shocked and serious eyes of Branya, 2 silver guns emerged from the power of the structure. Silver Wing Light Howl is a single pistol held by Branya in the form of the second silver wing. However, under Ling Zan's transformation, it became a double gun. It was realized in just 5 seconds. Branya. So fast. After you have fully mastered the power of gemstones, you can do it. Ling Zan chuckled and drew a small cake. Branya didn't speak, but her firm eyes were enough to show everything. Whether it's for herself or Zaire, she must master this power. Then, Ling Zan took out a box, put the constructed double guns in it, closed the box and took it to May's feet. He said softly, I will hand it over to Kiana when she wakes up. Okay, sorry to trouble you. May nodded. Ling Zan nodded, turned around, and looked at Jizi, who was deliberately looking down at the phone. Jizi. What? Obviously still angry, she was very upset at the moment when Ling Zan broke her defense. Ling Zan couldn't help laughing. What kind of weapon do you like? What? Didn't you say you won't help me? It's fine if you don't say anything. Big sword. I like the feeling of crushing everything. False arrogance is not worth mentioning, Jizi said hastily. Okay. Ling Zan made an okay gesture, and he had already determined the weapon for GZ. Aisha, this is for you. After Mei and the others left, Ling Zan took out the demon fox Yuya refined from Juyao's body. This is. Looking at the light golden feather coat in front of her, Aisha didn't react. Ling Zan smiled, and put the feather coat on Aisha. You have worked hard during this time, a small gift, I hope you like it. Mr. Ling Zan. Aisha stared blankly at Ling Zan in front of her. Tears welled up in the eye sockets. Why are you crying? Is this a silent protest of not liking my gift? Ling Zan joked while wiping Aisha's eyes. Why, how come? Aisha said quickly, gently grasping the feather coat on her body with both hands. I just like it so much, this is the first time I have received a gift, I will cherish it. Nice. You love it. Ling Zan smiled slightly, and stroked Aisha's cheek with his big hand. Mr. Ling Zan. Aisha's body trembled slightly, her cheeks flushed, and her beautiful eyes closed gently. Seeing Aisha getting ready, Ling Zan held Aisha's back and slowly bent down. Initiated today's grace. Xiaochong and Ruishui stared wide-eyed, not taking a breath. The next day, after breakfast, Ling Zan sat alone on the sofa, looking at the cards in his hand. This is the world crossing card obtained by signing in before. According to the words of the system, this would allow him to randomly travel to a world he had never been to before. The exam was temporarily put on hold until today. After thinking for a while, Ling Zan decided to use it today. Ruishui. After making a decision, Ling Zan shouted softly into the void. Immediately, Ruo Shui, who was held in Xiaochong's arms, turned into light and disappeared into Xiaochong's arms. Why? The hollowed-out Xiaochong was a little confused for a moment. Wow! The blue Ruishui sword flew across the corridor and flew to Ling Zan's side. Xiaochong, Aisha, I'm going out for a while, and I'll be back before noon. Seeing Xiaochong and Aisha approaching, Ling Zan said. Brother, Xiaochong also wants to go. Xiaochong tugged on Ling Xuan's clothes. Recently, I spend less time with Ling Zan. Ling Zan squatted down and gently stroked Xiaochong's head. Little Chong, I don't know where I'm going this time, but I promise that I will take you there next time. Just stay at home today, okay? Then, well, brother, you pay attention to safety. Sensible. She loosened Ling Zan's clothes. So cute. Ling Zan smiled and rubbed Xiaochong's head. Standing up, she said to Aisha, Aisha, Xiaochong will be counting on you today. Do not worry. Ling Zan nodded, and then tore up the world travel card. In the next second, a pitch-black void emerged. Brother, you must pay attention to safety. Xiaochong waved. Relax. Ling Zan made an okay gesture and walked straight into the space passage. Accompanied by the opening of the space channel. A tall and slender figure walked out of it, and a blue 3-foot-long sword was suspended beside him. It's a deserted city. Ruishui, who was sitting on Ling Zan's shoulder, spoke. Ling Zan nodded and looked around. The collapsed tall buildings and moss-covered walls all show that this is a dead city. It's the first time I've seen this style, and it's interesting. With a chuckle, Ling Zan walked forward. Walking in the deserted city, the surrounding is eerily quiet. If it is an ordinary person, it is estimated that they will not be able to stay for a minute. Soon, Ling Zan came to a house covered with moss. Ruishui flew out, observed the moss on the wall, and looked at Ling Zan. This place has been abandoned for at least 20 years. Ling Zan nodded and walked in, followed by Ruishui. It should have been a small shop before. Ling Zan, who entered the room, looked at the broken glass counter, as well as the snack bags and cigarettes scattered on the ground, said. Suddenly, Ling Zan noticed something and walked over curiously. Finally, Ling Zan came to a dark corner. This is. Ruishui, who followed, shrank his pupils after seeing something in the corner. Even though she was as calm as water, she couldn't help but feel turbulent after seeing the object. In front of them were several humanoid stone statues with fearful faces. I didn't expect it to be this world. After a moment of silence, Ling Zan murmured. Name, Meat Soil. Introduction. The human body left after the life source was taken away by the polar beast. Closing square bracket. Under the eye of insight, the introduction about Rutu came into view. The cage of the soul. With a murmur, Ling Zan turned around. Ruoshui, let's go. Ruoshui took a deep look at the human who turned into a stone statue, and followed Ling Zan. The door. When the two of Ling Zan came out, then he found 4 generic polar devouring beasts surrounding them, looking at them with grinning teeth. Is it the emotion just now? Ling Zan murmured. The extreme beasts in the spirit cage world are very sensitive to emotions, and they can detect it with just a little bit. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong person. Ling Zan. Ruoshui. Swish. The Ruoshui sword floating on the side fell into his hand. Since it's this world, I don't need to worry about anything. Ling Zan walked over calmly holding his sword. The surrounding polar devouring beasts were a little confused, and looked at each other in dismay. This was the first time they had seen a human who didn't run away. Roar. One of the pole devouring beasts let out a roar, and rushed over with its bloody mouth wide open. Laugh. Blue water shadows across. Boom, boom. 2 falling sounds sounded. The head and body of the pole devouring beast were separated, and the blood spilling from the neck stained the soles of Ling Zan's feet. The pole devourer killed by Ruoshui's sword was directly turned into gravel under the erosion of Haokai energy. Quote exclamation mark quote. The 3 pole devourers who wanted to charge shrank back after seeing the end of the boss. Although it is a generic type, it is more or less intelligent. Resurrection is their greatest reliance, but now there are humans who can kill them completely, and the biological instinct makes them afraid. However, they are afraid, but Ling Zan is not. A sword was swung out, and in an instant, there were 3 more gravels on the ground. After dealing with the pole devourer, Ruoshui's sword re-suspended to the side. Stretching out with one hand, the power of the blue structure emerged in the void. In the next second, a blue motorcycle was constructed. Ling Zan stepped up, and Ruoshui quickly sat in front of Ling Zan, pressing his 2 small hands on the cylinder block. Pass to the left side of the lighthouse. Ling Zan spoke to the void. Ding. Accepted. As the system's voice fell, a map appeared in front of Ling Zan. There are 2 dots on the map, the blue one is him, and the red one is the former air prison, the lighthouse. The lighthouse is a fortress in the air in this world called spiritual cage, known as the last resting place of human beings. And everything Ling Zan is familiar with happened around the lighthouse. He now needs to go to the lighthouse to confirm the timeline. Sit down. Ling Zan looked at Ruoshui on the cylinder block and said. Ruoshui nodded firmly. Rumble. As Ling Zan turned the handle, the accelerator roared. Next second. Boom. With endless dust, right away. On the bare plain, a blue light is galloping. Many polar devouring beasts raised their heads, and the moment they were puzzled, the motorcycle disappeared from their sight. The 999 on the display screen never fell off. Ling Zan was very excited. He finally understood why so many people like drag racing. The feeling of this gust of wind is really cool. Ruoshui, who was sitting in front of Ling Zan, could only hold on tightly to the cylinder block. If Ling Zan hadn't been used as a backrest, she would have been blown away with her young body. Ruoshui, sit down. I'm going to speed up. Looking at the target on the map that was getting closer, Ling Zan said suddenly. Isn't it already the fastest? Ruoshui said loudly. The corner of Ling Zan's mouth twitched. Have you ever heard of rocket propulsion? Ruoshui. Next second, the power of construction emerged, and the 2 propellers at the rear of the motorcycle were constructed. Boom. Flame spray and violent thrust increased the speed several times. Ling Zan knew from the voice that Ruoshui must be very excited now. After don't know how long. In the sky, a majestic building gradually came into view. Is that the lighthouse? Even he couldn't help but be shocked by the majestic gesture. At this moment, Ruoshui in Ling Zan's arms was dizzy, and she felt that the moisture in her body was about to be blown dry. Lighthouse. Central Command Office. Report. An unknown energy reaction was detected. Cut the screen over. Sitting on the command chair, Hazy Chang Yuji said. Yes, this is. But the moment the operator cut the screen, everyone's expressions changed. Human. How is it possible? The ground is obviously not suitable for human survival at all, so why do humans still exist? Everyone in the command room was noisy, which broke their existing cognition. Everyone be quiet, keep monitoring. After Jing Nan said something, he hurriedly left the command hall. At the same time, the lighthouse lifting platform, most of the dustmen and shangmen of the lighthouse are gathering together. The reason why there is a distinction between dustmen and shangmen is because there is a law called 3 Laws of Survival in the lighthouse. 1. Abandon the old concept of family, affection, love and marriage. 2. Clarify the hierarchical mechanism, and all distribution systems must be implemented in accordance with the contribution points and the orders of the superiors. 3. The lighthouse divides the situation of the lighthouse into shangmen and dustmen through genetic testing. The status of shangmen is far greater than that of dustmen, and they have more living rights than dustmen. At this moment, they were all traveling for the wilderness hunters named Mark and Ran Bing. But after Mark was exposed to the face of the pole devourer, everyone became a pariah. Amidst the cries of thousands of dustmen and shangmen, what was supposed to be a long journey turned into a burning torture. The shangman in the red gravity body is constantly spraying flames at Mark, who has turned into a beast, trying to turn him into ashes. Tens of thousands of human beings kept shouting words like, "Burn him to death," as if they had forgotten that they were all rescued by Mark. This is really a visual impact. Looking at the huge lighthouse, Ling Zan sighed. Only when you are there, can you feel how small you are. This angle should be about the same. After visually measuring the distance, Ling Zan lowered his head. Ruishui, Advanced System Space. Ruishui. Ababababa, already dizzy. At this time, Ruishui's eyes rolled, and he couldn't speak well. Ling Zan directly grabbed Ruishui's head and threw it into the system space. Okay, next, it's time to go up. Looking at the huge lighthouse, Ling Zan slowly let go of the handle of the motorcycle. Scoff. A red thunder light emerged from Ling Zan's body, and his gray eyes turned red. Next second, boom, accompanied by the huge explosion god, the red thunder light kicked up dust. In the endless majesty, Lei Guang rushed straight to the lighthouse in the sky. Frontier of lighthouse lifting platform. A wretched man in a red gown of the Light and Shadow Club was locking Ran Bing's neck with a collar. He moved to Ran Bing's side, gently stroking the cold collarbone with his hand. Are you really planning to go to the ground with him? Ran Bing said nothing, just struggling hard. Tut tut. The wretched man shook his head, with an obscene smile on the corner of his mouth. It's a pity to accompany an irrational beast, it's better to stay and contribute to the lighthouse. Thinking about the process of your breeding, it makes people very excited. Quote exclamation mark quote. Ran Bing's pupils shrank, and the scene of Chengxi Hall subconsciously appeared in his mind. Roar. There was an angry roar, and Mark, who had become a beast, smashed to the ground angrily. Look, the once heroic Captain Mark has degenerated into an ugly look today. Charles, the culprit standing high, looked at the impotent and furious Mark below, with a smug smile on his face. Burn him, the wretched man who was pulling the rope that locked the ring around Ran Bing's throat said loudly. 2 red heavy planes took the lead, and inserted the conductive spears in their hands into the accumulator. With the injection of electricity, the fan under Mark began to rotate slowly. This tuyere is a device similar to a thruster, which can burst out high temperatures that will incinerate most objects. As the burning started, everyone stopped and quietly watched Mark on the stage. With the rotation of the fan. Next second, boom. Hot waves of fire gushed out from under Mark. Roar. The temperature of the flame was very high, and in just an instant, the chains that locked Mark turned red. The painful wailing shocked all the lighthouse people. Ran Bing wanted to rush out, but was strangled by the wretched man, be honest. On the high platform, Charles was expressionless. Unlike the others, he knew flames didn't work on Mark. The reason for doing this was to verify the words of his father, the city lord Morgan. Mark growled in pain as the flames continued. But to everyone's surprise, as time passed, Mark showed no signs of being incinerated except for the skin being burned. So this is how the lighthouse deals with heroes. It's really eye-opening. Just when everyone was paying attention to the burning, a flat voice suddenly sounded. The sound was not loud, but it reached everyone's ears clearly. Who? Charles frowned. Looking in the direction of the voice, his pupils couldn't help shrinking. A person, standing in the sky without any support. The scarlet eyes quietly looked down at the sentient beings in the lighthouse below like gods. Accompanied by the red thunder light, Ling Zan landed on the lifting platform. And the moment Ling Zan touched the ground with his toes, the red magnetic field spread, causing the injectors that executed the torture to fail immediately, and the flames also dissipated. Humanity. Idiot, how can a human being stand in midair? It must be a god. Could it be the Lord of Light and Shadow? There was an uproar among the crowd, discussing Ling Zon's identity. Lift platform. Mark watched Ling Zon crawling up his huge body in front of him. Seeing the huge shadow on the ground, Ling Zon turned his head and met a monster that was completely black. Ling Zon thought something was wrong in his heart. Next second, roar. Mark opened his mouth wide and let out a deafening roar. Ling Zon, who was suddenly yelled at, started to have hairs all over his body. Subconsciously threw a punch. Boom. Accompanied by the sound of the sonic boom, Mark's head was crooked by the sandbag-sized fist. Mark, who was hit, was splashed with saliva and passed out. The residents of the lighthouse were all stunned for a while. Is it really the power that humans should have to knock down the pole-devouring beast with one punch? Mark. Ran Bing shrank his pupils and shouted loudly. Stop shouting, this level of injury can't kill the pole devourer. Ling Zon said to Ran Bing, shaking his hands. Hearing Ling Zon's words, Ran Bing couldn't help being stunned. No matter who you are, no one can disturb the trial of the Lord of Light and Shadow. At this time, the red heavy bodies of the two guards reacted, and rushed towards Ling Zon with stun guns in their hands. Did I tell you to move? Ling Zon glanced at the other party calmly. Next second, the scarlet light acts on the two gravity bodies. Boom, gravity descended, pressing the two heavy bodies firmly to the ground. Ling Zon understands why Walter likes the Star of Eden so much. This move is really good enough. Taking a step forward, Ling Zon walked towards the opponent. Every step he took, the gravity on Zongtu's body would increase by a point, until he was completely lying on the ground and could not move. Let Ling Zon comfortably use the opponent's head as a resting place. With his right foot lightly stepping on the heavy body's head, he said in the tone of Emperor Yan, a bug, it should look like a bug. Asshole, the humiliated human in the heavy body roared. However, boom, accompanied by a squeeze sound, under the horrified eyes of all humans, the two heavy bodies were squeezed into a discus. Clatter, blood spattered like a squeezed lemon. The entire lighthouse was dead silent, and Charles's complexion changed. Based on the idea of probing, I never thought that the other party was an inhuman monster. This power has completely surpassed his cognition. Ling Zon just glanced lightly. Next second, the two discus in front of them turned into atoms and dissipated. An eyesore. With his hands in his belt, Ling Zon walked slowly towards Ran Bing. On the empty lift, the steady footsteps seemed to be stepping on everyone's heart, making everyone afraid to take a breath. Stop, who told you to come here? The wretched man looked at Ling Zon, who was gradually approaching, and panicked for a while. However, Ling Zon had no interest in answering such rubbish at all, and moved on. Stop for me. The wretched man was startled and frightened, so he couldn't help shouting to stop. The surrounding city defense forces were also loaded and aimed at Ling Zon. Etc. Charles shrank his pupils and shouted loudly. But it was still a step too late. Bang 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 bang. Countless bullets burst out. In the next second, under the shocked eyes of countless people, these bullets were stopped in midair the moment they approached Ling Zon. Using metal on me is not a sensible choice. Looking at the bullet in the void, Ling Zon turned the bullet. He flicked his butt against the bullet. Next second. Boom. The air exploded, and ordinary bullets turned into electromagnetic cannons, which shot straight out. Laugh. There was a hole in the chest of several city defense troops. And the bullets surrounding it returned with a power 110 times stronger than before. In just an instant, the city defense army who shot Ling Zon just now completely passed away, and Yin Hong's blood soaked the ground. What? Countless people watched this scene in astonishment, their bodies couldn't help but retreat, and they looked at Ling Zon with fear in their eyes. You told me to stop just now. Tell me to do something, you are very brave. Ling Zon looked at the dull-faced wretched man with great interest. Yes, I'm sorry, I was a bit of a jerk just now, please forgive me a lot, my lord. The wretched man who was being watched panicked for a moment. Ran Bing didn't care, and knelt down on the ground, kowtowing his head frantically. The blood didn't stop even when he knocked on his head. Charles on the high platform clenched his hands, looking ugly. The members of the Light and Shadow Society are struggling in public, this is simply slapping him in the face. Ling Zan just glanced at him and then turned his gaze back to Ran Bing. He said something that puzzled everyone. Girl, do you desire power? What? Ran Bing was taken aback. Ling Zan smiled slightly. Do you want to break the power of all shackles? Ran Bing's pupils shrank, and he asked the doubt in his heart, are you a god? That's right. Ling Zan nodded. Hearing Ling Zan's confession, hope emerged in Ran Bing's heart, and he grabbed Ling Zan's hand. Then can you save Mark? Hee, Ran Bing, I really don't know what to say. Take a good look, your Captain Mark is no longer human, it's about time you admit the truth. Charles started acting like a monster again. Ignorance is not terrible, what is terrible is self-righteousness. Ling Zan glanced at Charles and said flatly. What did you say? Charles's complexion changed. He hates others denying him the most. I heard that you believe in the Lord of Light and Shadow. Of course, not only me, but the entire lighthouse is his believer. Speaking of the Lord of Light and Shadow, Charles seemed to have great courage. Oh, then you say I killed you, will he show up? A plain voice suddenly rang in my ears. Ling Zan put his arms around Charles's shoulders. What? Charles shrank his pupils, and looked at Ling Zan who was standing next to him in disbelief. The city defense army on the side quickly aimed their guns at Ling Zan. Don't be nervous, I want to kill you, no one can save you. Ling Zan patted Charles on the head and smiled lightly. Charles's eyes were cloudy. I can only temporarily suppress the fear in my heart, and pretend to be calm. Who is your excellency? Ling Zan. Me, I'm just a tourist. Back to the previous topic, I want this little girl and that beast, is it okay? Ling Zan laughed. Charles's mouth twitched. Has this been discussed before? Charles looked embarrassed. Others may be possible, but Mark is a repeat offender of my lighthouse. Then let me be the city lord. Charles. Hee, don't be nervous, I'm very approachable. Ling Zan laughed. Then what crime did he commit? Charles took a deep breath, and said, blatantly disobeying the 3 laws is already a capital offense. Why do I feel that it violated your interests? Ling Zan put his arms around Charles's neck and said with a smile. There was a forced smile on the corner of Charles's mouth. With your strength, I can't stop Mark from being taken away. But Mark has become a pole-eating beast, an enemy of mankind. Moreover, killing Mark is the common will of all the upper and dust people on the lighthouse, and even I can't stop it. Young man, I think you missed the point. What does what you said have anything to do with me? Why don't I just take people away? Anyway, you can't stop me. Ling Zan laughed. After a moment of silence, Charles said, Your Excellency, Mark's matter is an internal matter of my lighthouse. It's not good for you to intervene like this. Ling Zan narrowed his eyes. Do you think I'm discussing with you? Charles only felt a weight on his shoulders, and the terrible gravity made him almost kneel down. But come fast, go fast. Just a little joke, don't mind. Ling Zan rubbed Charles's yellow fur like a dog's head. Charles was extremely angry in his heart, but he didn't dare to express it in the slightest. Shouldn't it be enough to restore him to his human form? What? Charles was taken aback. It's just the recombination of genes and cells. Only you mortals worry about birth, old age, illness and death. Ling Zan said casually. My lord, as long as you can save Mark, I am willing to do anything. Ran Bing below said loudly after hearing the conversation between the two. What do you say? Ling Zan looked at Charles. Charles, even if he regains his human form, it may not be Mark. Snapped. Ling Zan slapped Charles directly on the back of the head. As long as you talk too much, just agree honestly. Charles's lungs were going to explode. Since he was a child, who would dare to treat him like this? But when Charles looked over, Ling Zan had reappeared beside Ran Bing. Are you saying you can really change back? Whether he changes or not, the lighthouse can no longer accommodate him. I'm more worried about whether the lighthouse will have a bad relationship with this god. What are you afraid of? We are blessed by the great Lord of Light and Shadow. He will definitely not let the other party do anything reckless. There was a lot of discussion. My lord, please save Mark. Ran Bing looked at Ling Zan almost begging. Looking at Ran Bing, the plot of the spirit cage could not help appearing in Ling Zan's mind. He couldn't help pinching his eyebrows. He just can't see the tragedy. When Ran Bing died, he was very upset. Understood, as long as you quietly watch from the sidelines. Ran Bing immediately stopped talking, and quietly stood aside. System, I will leave the matter of the soul to you, Ling Zan said. Ding. Please rest assured, the host. The eyes of Insight opened, and in an instant, Mark's cell composition and biological code and other related data entered Ling Zan's mind. Charles stared at Ling Zan below. He was very curious about how Ling Zan was going to rescue Mark, who had turned into a beast. Next second, Ling Zan opened his eyes abruptly. The black mist of the Hersher of Death protruded from the void and swallowed Mark's body, but in an instant, the body of Mark's pole devourer was completely disintegrated. Quote! Just when Ran Bing wanted to make a sound, Ling Zan stretched out his hand towards the void. The blue armillary sphere formed by the power of the blue structure began to rotate continuously. Creating something out of nothing as a breeze for Ling Zan, who complements the Hersher of Reason and the Gem of Tranquility. Immediately afterwards, under everyone's shocked eyes, a human body was slowly constructed. Charles couldn't help but widen his pupils, quickly got down from the high platform, and ran a little closer. The rest of the people in the lighthouse also opened their mouths, staring blankly at the body that was no different from Mark. Ling Zan felt a little uncomfortable at the moment. I didn't expect that the body that was constructed for the first time turned out to be a man's body. It would be great if it was a girl. Of course, what should be done must be done. Looking at Mark's gradually perfected body, Ran Bing covered his mouth, and tears of excitement rolled down his eyes. System, Ling Zan cried out in his heart. The next moment, the soul of Mark, who was restrained by the system, was perfectly integrated into the body. Done. Snapped. With a crisp finger snap, the power of the structure dissipated, and Mark fell to the ground smoothly. Looking at Mark's body, everyone rubbed their eyes frantically, for fear of making a mistake. That, my lord, clothes. Ran Bing poked Ling Zan's back with a blushing face. Oh, only then did Ling Zan realize that he forgot about his clothes just to build his body. Snapped. The snap of fingers sounded again, and a black tights appeared on Mark's body. In this way, Ran Bing hugged Mark on her lap with a blushing face, but kept looking down. Because of the damage to his soul, it will take some time for him to recover, and he will wake up in about 3 days. Ling Zan said. Thank you, Ran Bing said gratefully. Miracle, this is a miracle. I don't know who yelled, and the people around also became noisy. Master God, please tell us your title. An old man came over, knelt in front of Ling Zan, and said reverently. Old guy, you are blaspheming the Lord of Light and Shadow. The members of the Light and Shadow Society raised their whips and were about to swing them down. However, the imaginary space emerges. Under the dislocation of the imaginary space, the whip swung on himself. He groaned in pain and fell to the ground. Old guy, I'm not the god of this world. Even if you know my name, it doesn't mean anything. Ling Zan looked at the old man kneeling in front of him, and said flatly. The old man looked fanatical. I can see the true God before I die, and I have died without regret. Interesting. Looking at the old man kneeling on the ground, the corner of Ling Zan's mouth curled up. Ling Zan stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers again. The imaginary space appeared in the sky, and several figures fell from the imaginary space. It hurts. There are men, women and children in it. These are the members of the Wild Hunter, the team members who followed Mark through life and death. How did we get here? The little red-haired lowly Erica was stunned. Mark. After recovering, Mo Chung saw Mark on Ran Bing's knee pillow, his pupils shrank, and he subconsciously shouted. The members of the Wild Hunter team who heard the sound were shocked to find that Mark had returned to his original state. Immediately, they didn't care about anything else, and ran towards Ran Bing and Mark. I'm sorry to interrupt your reminiscence. Ling Zan clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. Miss Ran Bing, Mark, I have already helped you and came back. By the way, there is a reunion special, can you come and talk about our business now? Ling Zan smiled slightly. Ran Bing, what's the matter? The newly arrived Mo Chung and the others looked puzzled. Ran Bing didn't make a sound, and kissed Mark lightly on the forehead. Then put Mark on the ground, stood up and looked at Ling Zan firmly. As long as you want, I can give you everything. Very good. Ling Zan chuckled lightly. Hey, although I don't know what happened, if you dare to harm Ran Bing, I will not let you go. That's it. A group of hunters surrounded Ran Bing, looking at Ling Zan warily. Don't make trouble, everyone, this is what I said. Ran Bing pressed everyone's shoulders and walked to Ling Zan from the crowd. Speak. The ice blue eyes were full of determination. Very good. Ling Zan nodded in satisfaction, then stretched out one hand, and an ice blue gem was suspended above the palm of his hand. Gem overflows with cold air. Looking at Ran Bing, Ling Zan said slowly, I want you to be my apostle. What's that? Mo Cheng asked. Ling Zan did not answer the former's question, but quietly looked at Ran Bing, waiting for her answer. Ran Bing, what do I need to do? It's very simple, eat it. Ling Zan laughed. Without hesitation, Ran Bing grabbed the gem in Ling Zan's hand and swallowed it directly. Ling Zan was stunned for a moment, and the corners of his mouth curled up. Very good. He likes this decisiveness very much. Ran Bing's body changed after swallowing the gem. The originally fair skin gradually turned red and black under the erosion of collapse. There are several vein-like blue lines emerging on the body, which means that Honkai is transforming the body through blood vessels. Forehead. While the Honkai could be converted, it brought great pain, which made Ran Bing kneel down on one knee and clenched his hands tightly. Vomit. A mouthful of saliva was choked directly from Ran Bing's mouth. Ling Zan frowned as he looked at Ran Bing, who had been washed by Honkai. So painful. Fortunately, the system fused him in his sleep, otherwise he would have screamed out. Ran Bing. Erica subconsciously wanted to rush over, but was directly pressed to the ground by Ling Zan's gaze. Suddenly collapsed on the ground, which made Erica look dazed. What did you do to Ran Bing? Mo Cheng asked loudly at the side. Don't be nervous, this is because her body is adapting to the Honkai energy. Don't you want to live on the ground? Ling Zan glanced at him lightly, and said. With this power, even a king-level pole-devouring beast can easily crush and kill it. What? Mo Cheng was startled. Many members of the wild hunters showed a look of surprise. They are more aware of how terrifying the polar-devouring beast is than the group of people on the lighthouse. Ordinary weapons can't even break the shell of generic monsters, let alone king-level monsters. Ah! At this time, Ran Bing's cry immediately attracted everyone's attention. Ran Bing, are you about to start? Ling Zan narrowed his eyes. Ran Bing's body seemed to be split open, and ice blue light scattered from her body. The endless cold spread like a raging wave and rushed towards the surroundings. A thin layer of frost formed around it. The surrounding temperature seemed to have dropped by more than 10 degrees. Akio, Erica, who was close, sneezed from the cold. What's the matter? It's so cold. The rest of the people were also shaking their shoulders. Charles stared at Ran Bing intently. He wants to know, what is that power? The ice blue Honkai can reflect each other in the void, interweaving into a giant cocoon to envelop Ran Bing. Quote. Everyone raised their heads, staring blankly at the ice cocoon suspended in the sky. It looks like it will take a while. Ling Zan took out his phone and checked the time. 10:30. There is still time. Their family usually eats lunch around 11:20, as long as they go back before 11:20. It's time to give birth. Looking at the ice cocoon, Ling Zan murmured. It is naturally conceived like this, and I don't know how long it will take. Facing the void with one hand, the azure blue Ruishui sword flew out of the system space. Quote. The sudden appearance of the long sword startled everyone. Ruishui. Facing the hilt of the sword, Ling Zan shouted flatly. Next second, the armed puppet Ruishui flew out of Ruishui's sword. Listen to your call, master. Ruishui gracefully flew in front of Ling Zan. Help her, Ling Zan said. Ruishui's sword is fused with the gemstone of the Hersher of Ice, which is of the same origin as the gemstone Ling Zan gave Ran Bing. Yes, Ruishui nodded, and waved his small hand towards the void. The huge Taiji figure is suspended in the rainy sky. Immediately after, the blue Honkai energy fell from the sky like rain and fog, nourishing the ice cocoon. As beautiful as a scroll. Ling Zan didn't sit idle either. he used his own Honkai energy to create a Honkai crystal, and passed it directly. The moment the crystal came into contact with the ice cocoon, it turned into pure energy and fused with it. One is not enough. Then come the second one. After about 5 minutes. Click. The crackling sound broke the silent atmosphere. Cracked, cracked, cried the dustman. The ice cocoon cracked open. Click, click. Countless ice crystals shot out from the ground, surrounded Ranbing, forming a huge flower of ice crystals, as if the queen who surrounded them was born. Boom. Next second, all the ice crystals turned into Honkai energy and dissipated in the air, and an icy blue figure slowly came into view. Long silver hair spreads across the void. Under the blue cloak is a pair of ice blue diamond eyes. The moment they met, just for a moment, everyone felt that their souls were frozen. Seeing Ranbing's current posture, Lingzan showed a smile on his face. Very good. The change in pupils represented Ranbing's complete rhythm. Since then, his 6 apostles were born. Ranbing. Mo Cheng stared blankly at Ranbing, who was half empty. Sister Ranbing, so beautiful. The child who had been taken care of by Ranbing and Mark couldn't help sighing as he looked at Ranbing, who was surrounded by mist. Grown-ups. Ranbing landed in front of Lingzan on tiptoe, and said softly. The tempered Ranbing became a lot colder. Lingzan nodded in satisfaction, and slid one hand towards the void. Ding. Lingshuan invites you to join the super-dimensional group chat, do you want to join? Without hesitation, Ranbing agreed directly. After becoming a Hersher, she understood how powerful this is. It has already surpassed the limits of human beings and reached the other end of the gods. Because of this, Ranbing was even more in awe of Lingzan. Not only did the other party not ask for the return of saving Mark, but also gave her a new life. This kindness cannot be repaid in this life. Let's go. Lingzan stretched out his hand, and with a pop sound, he opened the imaginary space to the incorporeal body. There is no longer any point for this lighthouse to continue. Yes, my lord. After recovering from the group chat, Ranbing nodded slightly. Pointing the jade finger to the void, Mark, who was unconscious, slowly flew up and flew behind Ranbing. Ranbing turned around, looked at his companions, and said, everyone, do you want to go to the ground with me? Isn't that natural? Everyone in the hunter must always be together. Erica laughed. I can't go back anymore. Haji sighed and followed. Mo Cheng had no extra words, but walked to Mark's side. Ranbing stared blankly at the crowd, with a moving smile on his face. Thank you, my friends. That's it, Charles, I'll take them. Lingzan waved and smiled at Charles. Everyone looked at Charles subconsciously. Walk slowly. A forced smile tugged at the corner of Charles's mouth. Although he was talking about walking slowly, his clenched hands kept making, creaking, sounds. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone in the lighthouse, the rest of the hunter team, including Fei Shui, followed Ranbing into the imaginary space. When everyone leaves the imaginary number space, already came to an abandoned city. Roar. Suddenly, several roars sounded. In just an instant, dozens of pole-devouring beasts appeared on the broken house, staring at them. Oops, it's the pole devourer. Mo Cheng's pupils shrank, and he subconsciously took out his rifle, ready to fight. The rest of the members are also on standby. Seeing everyone's appearance, Lingzan couldn't help laughing. There is a Hersher who has just awakened here. What is a mere devouring beast? Ranbing, consider it the first battle, let them see your strength. Yes, my lord. Ranbing nodded slightly, stepped forward, left the crowd, and walked forward. Roar. A group of polar devouring beasts looked at Ranbing, who walked out, and all focused their eyes on her. Ranbing remained silent. She slowly opened her arms. In just an instant, the ice blue Honkai domain emerged. Honkai can start to condense crazily. Honkai beasts slowly emerged from the ground. Roar. Under the shocked eyes of everyone, hundreds of low-level extremely Honkai beasts appeared. The terrifying body made everyone laugh from ear to ear. Not to mention anything else, the chariot-level Honkai beast alone is 15 meters high. The mere pole-devouring beast is like an existence with 1 foot in front of the Honkai beast. Go. Following Ranbing's words, the advanced-type Honkai beast sweeps the formation, and the tank-level Honkai beast impacts. The city is easily flattened like a monk. Roar. The polar eating beasts rushed to escape one by one, making Haji and other wild hunters look stupid. They have always been chased by the extreme devourer, and this is the first time they have seen the extreme devourer being chased and killed. Is this the power of the gods? Involuntarily, everyone turned their eyes to the smiling Ling Zan. In a while, all the polar devouring beasts were trampled into meat paste. The Haokai beast is a creature born based on the Haokai energy, and the Haokai energy is not comparable to mana and crimson. In an instant, the cells in the pole devourer's body were completely destroyed by Honkai energy, turning into gravel and dissipating. Gulu. There was a swallowing sound. This is the first time Mochung has swallowed saliva. Grown-ups. Ranbing waved his hand, and many Honkai Nang stood beside him. Ranbing said softly to Ling Zan. Very good, but you don't have to be restrained. I am very kind. To a certain extent, we are equal. Ling Zan smiled slightly. He is the Hersher of thunder, and Ranbing is the Hersher of ice. The same as Hersher, but his core is plural. Yes. Ranbing nodded slightly. Speaking of which, I haven't introduced myself yet, have I? My name is Ling Zan, and I'm an ordinary student. Ranbing. Erica. Ink City. Haji. ... Everyone reported their names one after another. Ling Zan nodded and started the next topic. Ranbing, although I won't take you away, and I won't interfere with my normal life, but you are my apostle after all. When you need me, please don't make it difficult for me. Of course not, Ranbing said firmly. Ling Zan nodded. Then as a parent, let me help you guys out before I leave. Parents. Looking at Ling Zan's back, Ranbing was a little dazed. Go aside, block the line of sight. Kick the chariot Honkai beast's foot, Ling Zan said. Car. The chariot Honkai beast let out a grievance, and obediently moved out of the way. I glanced around. Ling Zan's palms faced the ground. The pupils froze, and a terrifying aura was released. Get up. Rumble. The earth trembled, accompanied by Ling Zan's light drink. In an instant, in the shocking eyes of everyone, a high wall and steel fortress erected on this ruined city. It's fake. Hanny rubbed his eyes, feeling like he was dreaming. Ranbing also had a dull expression. Is this Ling Zan's real power? Creation from afar. Compared to her, this is the power that a god should have. Clap clap. After finishing building the house, Ling Zan patted the dust off his hands. How is it? Is the house okay? Everyone was dumbfounded. You call this a house? That's amazing. Master Ling Zan, what else do you not know? Erica exclaimed. Does having a child count? Ling Zan laughed. Ha, Erica's head was blank, her eyes were dazed. Ha ha, everyone smiled kindly. Erica pouted angrily. You're laughing ass. Annoyed, she could only punch Mocheng in the chest. Mocheng. Ahem. Ling Zan chuckled lightly. The atmosphere didn't look bad to him. There are all kinds of equipment in this fortress. You can produce and manufacture weapons yourself. For grain seeds and planting manuals, you can ask Morax in the group. He should also be regarded as the god of agriculture. If you don't understand, you can go to the group and ask. After all, you are starting from scratch. I set up this group to help each other. Ling Zan said to Ranbing. I see. Ranbing nodded. Okay, things are almost done. Ling Zan picked up the phone and glanced at it. Next second, Ling Zan's stable form instantly collapsed. Oops, it's all over, I have to go back quickly. Xiaochong is still waiting for me to go back to eat. Ling Zan panicked for a while. The time displayed on the phone is 11:30. It's 10 minutes past schedule. For a child, commitment is very important, he can't be a broken parent. Ranbing, if you don't understand anything, just ask in the group, and I'll leave first. Ah, all right, Lord Ling Zan, please go slowly. Ranbing said in response. Ling Zan plunged into the space passage without looking back. ... After Ling Zan left, the area returned to silence. Everyone subconsciously looked at Ranbing. Everyone, how about we go and settle Mark down first, and then take a look around the fort? Ranbing turned his head and smiled at everyone. Seeing the familiar smile, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Ranbing was still the original Ranbing. Immediately, everyone gathered together happily again. Speaking of which, what about dinner? Didn't Master Ling Zan say that you can find it? That's right, hee hee. Amidst laughter, everyone entered the fortress constructed by Ling Zan. On the big hill not far from the fort, a silver figure quietly looked at the fortress surrounded by walls. After a moment of silence, he turned and left. At the same time, Ling Xuan's house. I'm back. Ling Zan hurriedly ran out from the space passage. Brother, why did you come back so soon? Xiao Chong, who was eating pudding, panicked after seeing Ling Zan. Hastily received the pudding behind him. Fast? How fast? Ling Zan subconsciously asked. It's only been an hour, Xiao Chong said in a childish voice. Ling Zan. Ding. Remind the host that the flow of time in each world is different. Ling Zan. Why didn't you say it earlier? Single quote. System. You didn't even ask the host. All right. Ling Zan took a deep breath, with a smile on his face. Because I missed Xiao Chong so much, my brother came back early. Ling Zan opened his arms and walked towards Xiao Chong. Seeing Ling Zan approaching, Xiao Chong's eyes flustered. Wait. Well, brother's body smells bad, Xiao Chong doesn't like it. Click. A sound of petrification sounded. Ling Zan seemed to have lost his soul. What did he just hear? Xiao Chong doesn't like him anymore. No, not right. How could Xiao Chong not like him? There must be something else. Ling Zan came back to his senses suddenly, narrowing his eyes. Xiao Chong, why are you keeping your hands behind your back? No, I'm sure I didn't steal the pudding. Halfway through the speech, Xiao Chong realized something was wrong, and suddenly covered his mouth. So it's a pudding, why don't you just eat a pudding, what's there to hide? Ling Zan asked puzzled. Is he one of those people who doesn't give kids snacks? Well, Xiao Chong was silent for a while. Obediently took out a 500 milliliters cup. Except for a little pudding at the bottom of the cup, the rest is empty. Ling Zan. Brother, can Xiao Chong skip lunch today? Xiao Chong scratched his head in embarrassment. Well, no lunch today. Really, I like my brother the most. Brother treats you to a plate. Ling Zan laughed. Why? Xiao Chong was dumbfounded. Sweat trickled down his face like a torrential rain. Papa. Next second, there was a spanking sound in the living room. Tell you to eat recklessly. This is still ice, eat so much at once, won't you lose your stomach? Ling Zan slapped Xiao Chong's ass several times. Woo, I was wrong, Xiao Chong knew I was wrong, brother, stop hitting me. Xiao Chong's eyes turned red from crying while lying on Ling Zan's lap. Say, where did this pudding come from? It was given by Ellie's sister next door. Li, which Li? Ling Zan asked doubtfully. Does he have this neighbor? It's the new big sister. Xiao Chong touched her tears and said with a blushing face. There are so many neighbors recently. Ling Zan pouted. System. Hey, Ling Zan, why did you jump out? Shouldn't. Ling Zan's complexion changed, and he had a very bad premonition in his heart. System. For the follow-up matters, the host can explore by himself, please don't be too surprised. Quote. The system is broken. Ling Zan pinched the center of his eyebrows, as if he was worried about the child. Xiao Chong, where's your sister Aisha? Ling Zan looked at Xiao Chong, who was lying on his lap, rubbing his little butt with tears in his eyes, and asked. Well, Sister Aisha is with Sister Kiana, Xiao Chong said weakly. Then why are you alone in the house? Ling Zan was puzzled. According to Aisha's personality, she would definitely not let Xiao Chong stay in the house alone. Well, brother, you said don't be angry. Xiao Chong looked away with some guilt. Ling Zan narrowed his eyes, and slapped Xiao Chong's ass again. Be honest. I said. Xiao Chong exclaimed. I told Sister Aisha that my brother sent me a private message asking me to come back and help you find something he. At the end, Xiao Chong showed a naive smile. He said he was coming back, but he was actually eating pudding. Ling Zan, you're cute, aren't you? You've learned to lie, haven't you? Ling Zan slapped him twice again. Wow, brother is bullying. Xiao Chong cried again. Da. At this time, there was a sound of hurried footsteps. Click. The door opens to reveal Elsa, out of breath. Xiao Chong, are you okay? I heard your cry. As Aisha said, she was completely stunned when she saw the scene in the room. Mr. Ling Zan, Sister Aisha, save me quickly, my brother is beating the child. Xiao Chong called out to Aisha as if seeing a straw. No, however, her mouth was quickly covered by Ling Zan. Ling Zan leaned down lightly, and whispered softly next to Xiao Chong's ear, Xiao Chong, don't you want to spend a happy time with your brother? No, no, Xiao Chong, whose mouth was covered, shook his head frantically. In no mood. At this moment, she doesn't want at all. But Ling Zan didn't care at all, picked up Xiao Chong and walked upstairs. Seeing this, Aisha could only put her fists on her chest and pray silently for Xiao Chong. After a while, Xiao Chong gritted her teeth and leaned on the handrail as she limped down from upstairs. The pain from her buttocks made her unable to straighten her legs. Okay, stop pretending, I've cured everything for you, Ling Zan said. HMPH, brother, bad. Xiao Chong pouted, his face full of displeasure. Ling Zan rubbed Xiao Chong's head. Be good, I'll take you to dinner tonight. After hearing the feast, a silver hair on Xiao Chong's head stood up abruptly. After moving slightly, Xiao Chong asked calmly, what do you eat? Well, seafood, quote exclamation mark quote. In just an instant, the originally nimble hair stood upright like a sword blade. Xiao Chong subconsciously wanted to call brother, but held back. She can't make Ling Zan feel that she is easy to coax, otherwise the little butt will be in bad luck next time. So proudly said, not enough. Don't push yourself too hard. Ling Zan flicked Xiao Chong's head. Hey, my brother is bullying people. Tears welled up in Xiao Chong's eyes, who was clutching his forehead. Then you should grow up quickly and bully me. Ling Zan pinched Xiao Chong's soft cheeks. Speaking of which, who did you learn to lie from? After speaking, Ling Zan was stunned. Xiao Chong usually only stays with Yusanjia and Aisha. Mei would definitely not lie, and neither would Branya. So, Kiana and Himeko. Thinking of the cheeky scene in memory of Kiana stealing fried chicken, Ling Zan couldn't help covering his face. Careless. After lunch, Ling Zan felt that it was necessary for him to confirm his new neighbor. Xiao Chong, go out with my brother. Where to? Look for your sister Ellie. Quote exclamation mark. Brother, don't you want to hit elder sister Ellie? Xiao Chong shrank her neck. Why did I beat her? Didn't I already beat you? Ling Zan asked in confusion. Why? Xiao Chong was taken aback. With dazed eyes, he looked at Ling Zan blankly. Is this what a brother can say? Finally, Xiao Chong went out with Ling Zan in a daze. This arrangement is really full of girlishness. When he came to the next door, Ling Zan was dumbfounded. Why are there pink balloons and wreaths on the gate? But when I thought that this was Alicia, it seemed to be all right again. Ding dong. Sister Ellie. Xiao Chong pressed the doorbell and shouted towards the house. Squeak. After a while, the door opened, and a beautiful girl as gorgeous as flying flowers walked out. Yeah, it's Xiao Chong. Did you come to play with your sister? Alicia, who came out of the house, bent down, brushed her fallen hair behind her ears, and looked at Xiao Chong with a sweet smile on her face. It's not me, it's brother. Xiao Chong looked at Ling Zan. Hey, I've been paying attention to you since just now, my brother is very handsome. Alicia clasped her hands together and said with a smile. There is no embarrassment between strangers at all. The affinity is full. Although he had expected it, Ling Zan was still stunned when he saw the real person. What's the matter, are you dumbfounded? Although I don't deny that I am a beautiful, elegant, and cute girl. But if I keep being stared at, I will also feel shy. Alicia swayed her body and said, shyly. I don't see any shyness in you. Ling Zan laughed. Oh, the girl's mind is very complicated. It's the first time we meet, I'm Ling Zan. Alicia, she is a beautiful girl as beautiful as flying flowers. Alicia laughed. Ling Zan, this introduction really has a personality. Alicia chuckled, then opened the door, and made a gesture of invitation. You can't let the guests stand outside for too long, come in quickly. Excuse me. Ling Zan nodded, and led Xiao Chong in. How could it be? I am very happy when someone comes to play. Of course, I would be even happier if they simply came to see me. Alicia folded her hands together, her face full of joy. Ling Zan couldn't help but sigh with emotion. No matter which world she is in, Alicia is so young and energetic. As soon as he stepped into the room, Ling Zan smelled a sweet fragrance of flowers. It's a completely different flavor from Kiana's. Come on, have a cup of tea, I'm the only one at home today, otherwise, I can let you taste Eden's craftsmanship. Alicia put a cup of tea on the guest table and smiled. Thanks. Don't be so polite, from now on we are all neighbors who take care of each other. Ellie laughed. Miss Ellie, which city did you move from? Ling Zan asked after taking a sip. You can just call me Alicia. I'm from Zhongshui City. Before the S-level disaster happened in the urban area, my house was destroyed. But I'm not unhappy, because I met you. Ellie smiled. Ling Zan smiled. Alicia, you don't live alone, do you? Oh, is it interesting for me to ask so many questions about a girl I met once? But I can tell you, they are my two best friends, Eden and Alponia. Alicia said with her index finger on her cheek. Are you sure it's not Lily? Huh, what did you say? I only heard the first word clearly. Forget it, let's take it as an answer. Alicia pretended to be stupid. Ling Zan, don't show such an expression, girl. She also has her own little secret. No, I asked a little too much. Ling Zan shook his head. Oh, little brother, you can be a little more excited and impulsive. If you are chatting with girls, don't be so cold all the time. It's okay, I just suddenly understand May's feelings. Ling Zan rubbed his brows and said. Ellie's words were too personal, and she couldn't continue at all. May, this name sounds really nice, can you introduce me to it? Well, you must have become good friends. Ling Zan said. Of course, who wouldn't like to be friends with a beautiful girl who is as cute as a flower? Isn't that right, little brother? Eileen gently brushed the ends of her hair and said with a sweet smile. Quote. Ling Zan, I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.